in that fixture against Uganda.
Yeah, impressive one. And when we saw the list, we tipped him, to be one of the best, one man that could give us that needed points, at any game, If you take a look at the game against Cape Verde and also Cape Verde, it was also very instrumental. But although his best, wasn't really that good enough, he put in some of the points, but at that point, Cape Verde were very much instrumental, especially when we're talking about Team Nigeria and coming up without making much preparation to the FIBA World Cup qualifiers, and that was their first game. So didn't really expect them to give up the best. Good for the thing, yes, they were able to get 20 points against Mali, where they walk over Mali, but Uganda was another tight one, but they were able to get it. Just like you mentioned, the first three quarters, we saw the Tigers dominating. Chimeze Metum was the man all around, getting the points, for the team. I think when we saw that list, we know that, yes, he was going to be the one to give Nigeria more of the points.
Second round of the qualifier comes up in August, and so the team now will have some time to put themselves together. By that time, I hope my Brown will be back, and some of the top-rated players would be, ready to play for Nigeria at this point in time. But I think with the 4 coming in from Europe and 4 coming in from America, with only 1 from the NBA, the other 3 from the NBA G League, with 4 from the home base, I think we've had some good performance coming from the Tigers qualifying for this next stage of the competition. Incidentally, all the 3 teams in that group qualified. We Cape Verde qualified, Uganda qualified as well, owing to the pulling out of, just say, the suspension given by FIBA to Mali for not having their players show up on the courts.
Yeah, but I think that was the only way we saw, Uganda also getting to that qualification as well. Nigeria were able to get their own after that loss against Cape Verde. That walkover against Mali also gave Nigeria an edge. After that walkover, they got 20 points, and also winning the game against Uganda as well gave Nigeria that strong push to qualify for the second round. Cape Verde also had it very, very clinical as well, at this point in time. So unfortunate at this point, for Kenya. We always know them, to be one of the best, when it comes to basketball, especially at this stage. But due to the issue or for the fact that, yes, they've not been paid, and the players, they got into Rwanda, but refused to enter the court, especially in the game against Nigeria. And I think that is not a very good gesture you could talk about, from the basketball administration down there. They should have probably put it in order for them. But if you take a look at it, somehow, it was an advantage for a team like Nigeria and also Uganda. So 3 teams as it stands: Uganda, Nigeria, Cape Verde, got that qualification, and we hope to see what they would put out, in the second round of the qualifiers.
Well, let's go to tennis now, away from basketball, and the Wimbledon is still on, and this is the second week of the Wimbledon. We are into the quarterfinals, and we've seen the latest result coming in from the center court. Nick Grigos is taking out his American opponent, Brandon Nakashima, and reached his first quarterfinal in 7 years. How did Nick Grigos do this one?
Yeah, I think it was a very fine one, but I think he did it even at the aspects of him having an injury. He was struggling with an injury in that game, but the man has to look that off and tend to pull through to get that particular victory. This is one man, so many has tipped that he has no much, to offer, but he's going to come up in this year's Wimbledon to pull through. He got the likes of Stephen Ositsipas on the road, to get down, to this stage of the competition. I think the Grigos, and not only we shouldn't just look at him in the fact that
he's a troublesome
yes, a troublesome player, but this time around he has come up to show that yes, he's really had something to offer, despite struggling with injury in that game. He was able to put that. And that game ended in 5 sets, where he was able to put that one through. So Nick Grigos, I think he really stands a chance as well, in this way. But apart from the likes of Kamdan Nori, which you've seen, yes, standing very strong. Novak Djokovic, is still there. I think Nick Grigos also stands a chance as well.
And still looking at matches there, where just before we get out of the Nick Grigos Nakashima fight, it was a 5-setter, 4-6, 6-4, 7-6, 3-6, 6-2, and I think that was a staying power of Nick Grigos. Despite needing a medical timeout, like he mentioned, he still went ahead to win in that one. In one of the matches that's just been decided at the center court out there, we've seen Jason Kofda lose to Taylor Fritz. Taylor Fritz had his name on all of the 3 sets. It was 6-1, 6-3, 6-1, 6-4. So Taylor Fritz is now into the quarterfinal as well.
An interesting one for him. Taylor Fritz, one player which we know is always trying as much as he can to spring up at any time getting to the quarterfinals of the Wimbledon, I think that is a very huge one at this point. But how far can he go when we have the likes of Djokovic, still there, Kamil looking very, very formidable this time around. Just the man we just talked about as well, Nick Kyrgios as well. All of these players are looking very formidable at this point. How far will Telefris go? We know is one player that not really show up when it matters. But interesting one has gotten to the quarterfinals of the Wimbledon this time around. We hope keep his focus high and tend to look for something very huge at this point in time.
Well, something interesting has happened at the Wimbledon. An unseeded player is into the quarterfinal. He's an Australian, Garin, who is just 26 years of age. He fought back from 2 sets down and saved 2 match points to beating 19th seed Alex de Minaur. This is a shocking result to me because world number 43, which a lot of people see him as a clay court specialist, struggled on the grass out there in Wimbledon, and so we've seen an unseeded player right now reaching his first quarterfinal win in yet another 7 sets, another 5-set win.
Yeah, but interesting one for Gary this time around. Nobody thought it was going to be that easy against.
He's placed better on the clay court than on the grass.
Yeah, I think that's another move for him. And this time around, trying to pull it through on the grass courts, I think that is another adventure for him. He tries to push very hard. We've seen some other players, complaining for not getting that familiar with the grass court. But Gary this time around has pushed players like Carlos Alcaraz, which we've seen in a very fine fashion this time around, has come up to say that yes, he's not good at the grass court, and he was ousted out over the weekend. But Gary now getting to the quarterfinals unseeded at this point in time, and also on the grass court. This is a new thing, and this is something he has never done before. Time around, I think it's something additional to him. I think that would be a huge morale booster for him going forward in the competition at this point in time. We've seen unseeded players always doing wonders at this point in time. We take a look at the women category. Let me digress a little. We have the likes of Harmony Tan unseeded, but taking out big names this time around. So I think for me, it's then time for Gary as well to also look forward in getting something huge in this year's Wimbledon.
Well, talking about Wimbledon and the male, you want to think of Rafa Nadal. He will be in action in the next couple of minutes from now. He has the Dutch player Van de Sandschulp to contend
for Rafa Nadal at this point in time. Before the tournament, he was complaining of a foot injury, almost looking likely not to play, but the man seemed to have someone courage to come put up a challenge this time around. I think it's been an interesting one for Rafa Nadal. One man will know always good on clay, but this time around he's doing it, in the grass court, and that could say a very experienced player anytime, any day you could talk about. So I think it's going to be another challenge for him. And we hope we don't see an upset, and we look forward to see him continue that fine form and the fine run we've seen so far. Probably just getting to the finals for this year's Wimbledon as well.
It's end of the road for Petri Bacic because she has crashed out at the round of 16, and it's Elena Rybakina who has taken her out in straight sets, 7-6, 6-3, and that's a good one for Rybakina, who gets into the quarterfinal of this year's Wimbledon. One lady that is looking forward to going to the quarterfinal is Tunisia's Ange Bard, Africa's best player so far for both male and female. She has played in the quarterfinal before at Wimbledon, and she looks like stepping into yet another experience at the quarterfinal. She's enjoying herself so far, and she has a message for African youths where she continues to push on at the Wimbledon. Yeah,
she has a message telling other African youths that they can do well, they can get into the Wimbledon, they can also portray the same character we've seen from her at this point in time. I think that's a very huge motivational talk from Ange Bard to upcoming tennis players that are coming up down here in Africa. And it's been an interesting run for her at this point from the Eastbourne Open, where we saw her in the doubles with Serena Williams, getting to the Wimbledon. It's been a very fine run for her. But as it stands now, she stands very good. She stands on a very good note, and also she looks very favorite, to clinch this year's Wimbledon. Looking at the fact that the big names are already out. The lady we thought was going to get to this time around, Iga Swiatek, she was also out over the weekend, and as it stands now, Ange Bard world number 2, she stands very, very high on getting this particular one. Gabi Muguruza, Emma Raducanu, the big names no longer here. So if you take a look at it, I think Ange Bard, she got what it takes this time around to clinch this year Wimbledon. She couldn't get it the last time out, but they would just hope, this would definitely get to our hands at the end of the day.
Anjoba definitely one of the highest seeded. Right now she's the world number 2, and now I think she's seeded number 3, still in the race. She has a match tomorrow against Maria Peskova, and let's hope that she can take out her opponent that is not in her class, because we saw what she did against Elise Martins just last 48 hours. Let's hope that she can take out Maria Peskova, who is from the Czech Republic. Anjoba ranked world number 2, and she's up against Maria Peskova, who is ranked as day down to number 66. So it looks to me like an opponent she can take. It's tricky, but let's see what happens, because Anjoba right now is the form player, if you ask me, so far at the World Building. Let's see how she can go. Without Maria Iga Swiatek, she has a chance of getting to that World Building title. Let's stay away from that, but when we return, we'll bring you more exciting stories, especially coming from the world of football. It is getting very interesting. Africa is having a lot of money pumped into football, and we'll get you that, and how Africa is getting money into football, and of course 1 or 2 transfers across Europe. It is transfer season. Chelsea is looking like, well, wait for it. When we come back from the break, I'll let you know why Chelsea fans are optimistic. Welcome back. It's Atlantic Sports Extraordinary, and we're looking at issues trending right now from the world of sports, especially now we are into football, where the Super Falcons have a very crunch tie in the next couple of minutes from now. Super Falcons up against Bayana in a bid to qualify for the World Cup that is coming up. And apart from the World Cup qualification, they want to win the African Cup of Nations first, then qualify for the World Cup. And I'm sure they are not looking at going to the Confed Cup as well. But first, can this Super Falcons of Nigeria make their, title number 12? They've won 11 titles previously at African Cup of Nations, and it's only one Cup of Nations they have not won. And they are up against a team that's never won any edition of the African Cup of Nations, Bayana of South Africa.
I tell you, it's going to be a very strong one this evening. That game comes up, I think, just a couple of minutes from now. It's really going to be a very, very strong one as it stands now.
South Africa beat Nigeria in Lagos at the Aisha Buhari Cup competition.
Yeah, they beat Nigeria in Lagos at the Aisha Buhari Cup competition. And also in the last time at as well in the African Cup of Nation, it was a very huge struggle between both sides. It went down to penalties, and the Super Falcons were able to get a victory, in that encounter. South Africa this time around, we've seen them, they put a whole lot of a whole lot, to make sure the team that do very well. At some point in time, I got to reports that they've increased, their match bonuses, and all that. So this
they arrive on time as well.
Yes, they arrive on time as well. Very huge preparation. We've seen the coach of the side talking about Desiree Dip. She's been talking tough, ahead of for the encounter. So if you take a look at it, they are very motivated at this point to really do the damage, against the Super Falcons. Today, take a look at the side of the Super Falcons. We've seen their preparation, ahead of for the African Cup of Nations. They had a friendly game against the Niger Rattles, where they caught that one done and dusted as well. They went down to Canada. They also played a friendly match as well. That's been a little bit of preparation for them. We've seen some couple of players coming into the side, but one thing that will really affect the Super Falcons today is the fact that their first choice goalkeeper, talking about Chiamaka Nadozie, she won't be in between the sticks. We'll be seeing Tochiko Elenu this time around, from Israel. So I think she'll be able to do very well, in between the sticks. You can players like Cesar Shola, Francis Odega, and also Ashley Prompter, they're all set, for this encounter. So we also hope the Super Falcons will be able to put up their best today, because if you take a look at this Bayana side, they are very much motivated, ahead of this encounter. We pray, we don't start, Nigeria don't start the game, on the losing notes today.
Talking about South African football for female, they of course, remember their team, Sundowns, are African champions, and so it looks like the momentum right now is with South Africa. But let's see what can happen, because going by what happened in Nigeria a couple of months ago, it looks like I said, they win the cup, club level African Cup of Champions Cup for female. The team from South Africa there, talking about Momole Sundowns, and the national team as well coming to Nigeria to beat the Super Falcons. So it looks like momentum is with them. But a lot of people have called this one final before the final. What do you think?
Yeah, it's like final before the final, because if you take a look at African football, African women football, it's been a very huge rivalry between both sides, the Bayern of South Africa and also the Super Falcons of Nigeria. It's been a very huge one. When it comes to both of them playing, you see, the Grants have to suffer because as if two elephants are fighting at this point in time. But we'll look into today's game and see what both team has to offer. But if you ask me, I think Bayana very much motivated financially, and also you talk about fitness-wise, they are very much fit this time around. Super Falcons having a little bit of injury in the goalkeeping aspect of their team at this point in time, but I hope that won't be a down in morale, because they have when it comes to Super Falcons, they have a very good forward. Chisero Shola should be very fantastic in the Barcelona team. So we look forward to see how it goes this time around. It looks like the final, before the final this time around.
In that same group,
Falcons get us better results.
In that same group, we have Burundi and Botswana. They will be in action later tonight as well. But in some of the results of matches that have been played so far at the African, we've seen 8 goals from 4 games. Tunisia beat Togo by 4 goals to 1. In the encounter between Cameroon and Zambia ended goalless. Senegal beat Uganda by 2 goals to nothing, while Morocco beat.
They deserve to be our sports level today.
The Lions from Senegal this time are not Lionesses from Senegal, not Lions, because Lions for the male and the Lionesses for the female. Our sports SRN for this evening, and don't forget that we can continue to interact after this edition of the program, because if you're on Twitter at Atlantic TV Net, if you're on Facebook and YouTube, let's interact at Atlantic Television Network. Then if you're on Instagram, Atlantic TV Network will be our point of interaction. Until we return back to your screen again, and continue to know that peace and unity are clear.
Labour Party winning the presidential election in 2023. The LP has the former Anambra State Governor Peter Obi as its presidential candidate. And newsmen also reports that most people, especially the youth, are looking at the individual and not the political party. The NNPP presidential candidate who spoke during his appearance on the national TV said that he believes it is the interest of the Labour Party and the NNPP, and even in the interest of this country, because the Labour Party as it stands today certainly cannot win an election. He emphasized it. He said yes, it cannot win an election because mainly the support is mainly in a particular zone and not spread, and the figures there cannot earn anybody a presidential seat in the country. Let me start with you, Mr. Powell Stuko. Do you agree with what Kwangoso has said?
I don't think that is the whole truth. That could be half truth, in the sense that a lot of people are playing the game so that they will be flag bearer. And that is actually what happened when you see that lots of Northerners don't want the Southern person to be candidates or to hold sway. So what they are doing is to making sure that they bring statements to undermine our political strength and vigor and charisma and all what we have labored for a number of years. Don't forget that Peter Obi has also ruled Anambra for about 8 years as a former governor, and then as an economist. So apart from the sense of biasness, where I see Kwankwaso making the statement, I do also believe that if you revise that case, that Kwankwaso cannot also win election in the East too, that will balance the statement, because one bad turn deserves another, and one good turn also deserves another. So I do think that only Kwankwaso too cannot win election. You know, most of them, they think that because they have won election in their various states, this is something that has to do with a lot of Nigerians. And I don't think the Kwankwasia movement, which Kwankwaso belonged to, has been a household name in Nigeria. Has not been a household name.
Of course, the NNPP is a new party in Nigeria, of course.
No. Apart from the NNPP, the Kwankwaso himself, he used to preach the Kwankwasia movement. Is a type of political culture where people identify with him, you know. So, but what I'm saying is that his own identification does not cut across the length and breadth of Nigeria, where he can use that to win election. I remember when he came to Rivers State some time ago, commissioning one of the bridges, flyovers in Port Harcourt. We used to call it second artillery, and he was in the statement using style to tell Governor Wike to belong to his Kwankwasia movement. As of then, anyway. That time, Governor Wike have not indicated interest to vie for the presidential primaries. So that was that earlier time. So he always think that he's such a person that people should run around. But unfortunately, I don't think there's too much truth, because he left a lot of people unbelief, because you didn't tell us the circumstances. You say under the present circumstance. Present circumstance of what? Is it present? Okay, let me preempt it, because we are journalists and we are what we used to have what we call agenda setters. We are agenda setters. So I am preempting him. That if you're talking about Kwankwaso, you're talking about the circumstances presently in what Boko Haram is doing, in what ISWAP is doing, in what herdsmen are doing. It means that you may not even get more votes. So if you want to also balance up with what is happening in the southeast, where Ungon Norman is also doing a lot of pockets of issue of uprising or whatever, then the two could be balanced. In fact, they are the northern hemisphere or northern part of Nigeria. It's more higher, more great, more very holistic than this one.
But looking at the individuals involved, basically, one might want to say that Kwankwaso, being a northerner, have also held notable positions in the country, and he has been able to pull some great weight in the north. Looking at that as well, he could stand a chance, in winning an election presidency.
Yeah, let me tell you, that is not always or almost the truth. Peter Obi have also become governor twice too, and there is also a crowd of love following Peter Obi. So it's not because of that voting spread. Don't also barricade that there are no Northerners who also love Peter Obi. We cannot say for sure that people in the North does not love him. Because that statement, it has a lot of coloration. And that is why I say it's half truth.
Okay.
Because in the Southeast too, there are people that will not love Kwankwaso. So the reverse is the case. So it's neither here nor there.
Not there. All right, let us get the reaction of David Sinhem as regards the statement that Kwankwaso has made that the Labour Party cannot win an election come 2023.
Well, I feel everybody will have freedom of speech in Nigeria. And what that simply translates or means is that as an individual, you have the right to say what you want to say and say it at any time, at any given time you want to say it. But be that as it may, I think that statement lacks truth, like Mr. Duko has said. 2023 election, virtually we will be giving attention to, voters may be giving attention to individuals and not political parties. And if that is the case, I think the track records Nigerians are getting about and from P2B would make them want to give attention to him over every other candidate that will be standing in for that election. And on the other hand, if we are talking about party, because, you know, prior to this 2023 election that is forthcoming, we know that Nigerians give attention to political parties. We say this is bigger party and the other is following. And Labour Party, because of the presence of this individual P2B, is becoming the third force in the political arena of Nigeria. And if that is the case, who are actually the population that make up Labour Party? You see that it's almost the total working force in Nigeria are in this Labour Party, because the Labour Party came as a result of people who are civil servants, laborers, people who work, coming together to say, no, we also need to have a voice. We also need to decide what happens in the political arena. By that, Labour Party came into existence. Remember that Oshomole, the former governor of Edo State, was part of that movement that bettered Labour Party. And today, Labour Party has gathered and gained momentum that it could stand on its own to push for an election. Even in Rivers, as we talk, Labour Party is having that momentum. Standing in a lot of states have them. So if that is the case, there is no need somebody saying that Labour Party is not a national party.
No, he didn't say it's not a national party.
He may not say it, but saying that they cannot win election means that they lack structure to win election. That's what he's saying, and that is not true.
Do you think that Labour Party can actually win?
Structure. Like, if you look at a kind of genealogy I've given to you, how Labour Party came into existence, I've mentioned to you that the total force of that party is the working class. You have all civil servants, all traders, because you know TUC is part of Nigerian Labour Congress, and Labour Congress is the original owners of Labour Party. If that is the case, and the working class, the Labour NUC, NLC, TUC, NUT, all of these organizations come together to say, no, this is our own party. Don't you think they have force more than every other party in this country?
Going by some of the statistics we've had in Nigeria, of course, we know that in Nigeria, I think you've said it before on the show as well, that we'll play a politics of party, religion, rather, and ethnicity, in the country. Now, looking at that same scenario, we have lots of Nigerians who play politics based on that, and of course we have two major parties that have been standing in the country, the APC and the PDP. Do you think that even if the NUC, the TUC, and all of the bodies that you've mentioned, do you think that these guys will be willing to put their vote where their mouth really has been?
Sir, what you have just said now, recurring the idea of ethnicism, religion, and
partisanship
at the point, it simply means you have actually informed Nigerians that there is need to give attention to people. We will explain that.
Okay.
Since 2019, in 1999, after the agreement, verbal agreement that power should rotate, power has gone to the north. President Buhari has done his share. So power should come to the south. So if that is the case, the only candidate that should be standing to talk about this election should be Asiwaju Tinubu and P2B, because they are from the south. They should be given the priority. Then, if we are talking about the religion, we also mention Asiwaju cannot even stand because he's a Muslim. Remember what we do. If power is rotating, it should be between religion and ethnicism. Like we have said, it has moved from north, back to South. And if that is the case, a Muslim is leaving office, a Muslim should not take over. So I see no, like Mr. Pius, I see no reason one would say that Labour Party cannot win election, because I think the candidate they are feeding is deliberate. Because as a Southerner, he's qualified. If we are arguing from the ethnic basis, as a Christian, he's qualified. If we are arguing from the religious basis, as an Easterner, he's even more qualified, because we are saying if power should come to the South, it should go to the East. Because this particular political deprivation, these people are still backward. They've not been given the opportunity to rule. So they should, like, if we're talking of Northeast, too, what is it? Wazir of Adamawa, that is Atiku Abubakar, also starts because he's from the Northeast. These people do not have the opportunity of getting power at will. So they should be given attention.
Talking about performances, of course, you know that the Aswaja Bola Tinubu, rather, who is popularly known as the Jagaban, you know, he's been there, and lots of persons have said that in his time as the governor of Lagos State, he helped to revamp the economy of Lagos State. Yeah, that he actually did a whole lot of stuff in the state. There's been an article who also has been vice to Obasanjo, you know, as at the time, you know, and lots of persons have their reservations about this individual. My point exactly is, with all of their performances, do you think that the third force, the Labour Party, has a chance against the APC and the PDP come 2023? Let me go to you now, Mr. Pius.
Yeah, let me say that the elementary statement we were battling was on the statement made by Kwankwaso,
yeah,
the viability of the Labour Party not winning the election, because of the fact that he want to be the candidate of that party. However, making a comparison, there are going to be a lot of indicators that will be on the display. If you want to now line all the political parties, you need to line them up: the APC, the PDP, the Labour, the NNPP, all of them. And up till now, maybe we don't have a final list of how many political parties that are going to be on the ballot box, and then ballot paper. So, in that case now, if we now do only the analysis between these three, it means that we may not be fair to other political parties.
Now we are looking at this tree has been very loud so far.
I know. It's like Cement, Morocco Village, Makoba, all those islands and some other places can begin to develop. And because of that, it angered President Russo Obasanjo, and he stopped giving them their statutory allocation for 4 years. For 4 years, and let me tell you, for that 4 years, he did not complain of salaries. They were paying their salaries, they were doing work. He used a IGRO, and people did not complain until he left. When he left the state, they now paid money, and the money was used by Lagos State. But what I mean is that he was able to decipher what he can do and cope up with that punishment. But that was a punishment that's supposed not to be. And secondly, one other outstanding thing they said he did also was to empower a lot of people who are non-indigenous.
That was for the part of Bola Tinubu in Lagos State.
Yes, in Lagos. Okay. The empowerment of non-indigenous, of making most of them commissioners, like Rue of Arabosora, Lai Mohammed, and many of them who are not from Lagos. Okay. They said about 6 or 7 of them who were not from Lagos, and he appointed them to work in my cabinet. Also, the likes of the Vice President, who was Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice. So that alone is part of it. And sometimes, lots of people also talk about collection of taxes, how we empower the less privileged, who can collect taxes and pay tax to government and get their percentage. That is on that side. On Peter Obi's side, they also talk how he also recouped and placed Anambra from a deficit state to a rolling state, where his government paid some debts that the Anambra state government was owing. And while he was living, apart from other roads and rural infrastructure and development, he also left some money in the coffers of the state. So looking at that vis-a-vis, I think you can also talk about that. And then since Atiku Abubakar is part of this, yes, he has experience as a former custom officer, retired. He also has experience who won an election to be governor, but he has a higher call to come. and also serve as the vice president. What actually was not too straightforward on how the cordial relationship he has with Obasanjo, with his principal, there was not much smooth road within that 8 years, because you'll be hearing of impeachment notice, sign of impeachment all the time. They will address the matter, they will go to National Assembly, they will settle the matter like that. And until they were able to manage, in fact, sometimes they came to the public and, do some expository information which is supposed not to be. However,
who made expository information?
Both of them, both former President and Atiku Abubakar.
Okay.
However, because of the fact that he has been an entrepreneur and a capitalist, he has also ventured into buying a lot of former companies that belong to Nigeria, and he has revamped them and working and giving jobs to some people, to a lot of people. So that also earned him where he will also have some lovers. That does not preclude the fact that that also have a fact that a lot of people insinuate that when he was there as vice president, a lot of Nigerian companies go underground, and maybe the amount they bought some of those companies was not supposed to have been the amount originally, because they think that the Nigeria, the people in charge of privatization did not do their homework well. That did not remove the love that Nigerians still love him.
Okay, let's go to this agreement, basically, based on all the analogy that you have made, that these three candidates, if we're going by that, all stand a better chance if given the opportunity to rule the nation, Nigeria. So it's going to be a fierce battle between the three of them, if it is just the three parties that are being presented to us come 2023. Let's just, that is the consensus agreement right now. So let's just quickly move on to the next conversation this evening, where we have the former Minister of Transportation, also the former Governor of Rivers State, Right Honorable Chibuike Amechi, and he has promised to end the Rivers APC crisis in weeks. The former Minister of Transportation has promised to end the crisis rocking the All Progressive Congress in the state in weeks. Amechi also said he was not given fair hearing on the state committee report that alleged he and six others alleged that he and six others embezzled $50 million during his administration as state governor. Now, he spoke in Port Harcourt last weekend while fielding questions from newsmen during his homecoming after the presidential primaries of the APC. Amechi said he was back in the state to motivate candidates and to settle the grievances in the party as soon as possible. He also noted the disagreements in the party were not fallers from the gubernatorial primaries, adding that there were minor issues that would be resolved in a matter of weeks. He went further to say that this is the reason why he came back to Port Harcourt, because anytime there is a transition, you are bound to have disagreements. Apart from the first disagreement that has always been there, the other one is ambition. I'm talking about the internal rancor amongst us. These are some of the statements that Amechi has made. However, he went further to say that in the next weeks, 1 to 3 weeks, we will be able to resolve the issues, and these issues are not about the governorship candidate. We have passed that stage. Now, you recall, of course, let me come to you, Mr. Davis. APC was not in the ballot. That was in 2019. Yeah, because the party had a crisis, and then they came to a point where one would say there was a division in the party, and then they couldn't get to the ballot. Similar thing almost, some person might want to say similar thing also almost would have happened in this year as well regarding the 2023 general elections. But again, Amechi has come out to say that it is time for us to reconcile as a party. Do you think there's a possibility that Amechi himself can bring the party together in unity?
Yeah, sure, he can. If you had listened to him very carefully, or you had read that very carefully, from his statement, it's clear that to him, he understands that APC has two different crises. One is the crisis of ambition, somebody's ambition, which is the Senator Magnus Sabe's ambition of becoming a governor on the platform of the All Progressives Congress. And his insistence that such opportunity would not be given to Abe to become the governor of the state on the platform of APC. I think that is the first one where he said that is not his interest. His interest is not on the ambition issue and the crisis that came. Rather, the other minor issues that came after all of the congresses of the party in the state and the primaries. I think on that basis, he can manage it, because all of those involved in this, because he said when there is transition, immediately you talk of transition, office, people moving office and chairs being moved and all of that, there is bound to be crisis, disagreement, and a kind of rancor. And that is what he has come to do, to ensure that the people who are still on his side, he is addressing his loyalists entirely, not talking about the generality of people who are believed to be faithful of APC, but those who are ardent followers of himself. So his interest is, if it's on that basis, Amechi can do it. You can talk to your loyalists, he can talk to them to understand his position, and they will obey him if actually they are still his loyalists. But at a point where they are not his loyalists, they do not believe in his agendas and his vision and his leadership, he may not. But I think at the point, the 1 or 2 weeks he has given to resolve all of that, because when Tony Cole, architect Tony Cole emerged as the candidate, the standard bearer of the APC, a lot of other persons were not happy in the party, because they still feel that he is not a party man. He was just imported from nowhere because maybe he's a business partner of the former Minister of Transportation.
But was he imported from nowhere? Of course, he has a basis.
We just use that language. That's what they are saying. It's not our own language.
Okay.
They say he was imported to be a candidate of the party. We don't know actually whether he was imported or not. I'm not in APC. I may not know how they've been running their organization and the kind of meetings they may have been having all this while. But from the communication we are getting from that party and the body language, we understand that at the end, after the primaries that produced him, that a lot of them have been aggrieved and they've not come to terms. Not just his own. I think a lot of other constituencies, which is even in all the political parties, some constituencies, state, federal constituencies, some senatorial districts, some candidates that emerge may not be the interest, may not be the choice of everybody. We don't know. That is how it will always be. When two candidates or when two aspirants stand in an election, everybody will not like all the people at the same time. So that must be that splinter, that some people are for Mr. A, some people are for aspirant B. So I think that is what he's trying to say. At the point when a candidate has emerged, I have the force as leader of the party to bring all of us together to work in order to win elections. He mentioned that on several. He said, we will win elections. We will work to ensure that we win elections in 2023. Even he said he will make sure that the party wins the presidency in Rivers State.
Do you see a possibility to that?
Yeah, sure. If he's, well, at the point we cannot decide because election is we still have over 7 months from today. So we cannot preempt to say APC will win. But we will say if he works very hard, there's every possibility APC will win. There's possibility that he will win.
Okay, let's go to Mr. Pius Duko. The APC crisis has been there for years. Well over 4 years, we might want to say that. Can Amechi in 3 weeks resolve a problem that has lasted for over 4 years?
Let me say it is very hard not to crack. The reason being that if you look at that statement very holistically, it means that you're going to look at that, are you the person that actually been holding this crisis up till now? You are now saying, I will in 4 weeks resolve it.
Yeah.
But there have been accusation and counter-accusation that there are people that are fueling APC crisis, which is not you as a former minister, not you at all.
Yeah.
As in the eyes of other people, you are a very holy man. You are decent, you're great, you're wonderful. And then, if you now come that I will resolve the thing in few weeks, people will now look, are you actually part of those who caused the rancor, the acrimony, the bitterness, and all that? But as a leader, I think nobody have disproved that the former governor and the former minister has not been any leader at all. Has not.
Yeah.
But the people also think that you give a level playing ground, just like it happened in Abuja. In Abuja convention, everybody have your delegates and you file in and you go and vote. And nobody was ostracized, nobody was belittled, nobody was caged upon, nobody fight for any material in any hotel, nobody should go on that they should go and okay, why not? Nobody come to look at how they can oppress a delegate or that. So that also raised another concern. But I'm happy at this statement. But just like my fellow journalist said, that statement might be for only his loyalists and supporters. Is that actually the statement for him or for the whole or the generality of APC? Because that will call for side.
Yeah.
Because, every time, because don't forget that in 2019, most of these statements were also made. Most of these statements, we are going to win, we are going to we are going to remove the other government, and very soon, most of you will be caretaker committee chairman, most of you will be this, most of you will be that. But don't forget that that is actually those things politicians will always say. But if they don't say those things, then you can't follow. And then you'll be faithful. And then when the thing did not materialize, it doesn't mean that you should go. You continue to be faithful, whether in failure or in achieving what is supposed to be.
Yeah.
But for the fact that a lot of his followers were disgruntled, because most of them were also thinking of some of those tickets.
Yeah.
That I would have loved to be a senator since I've been following you. I would have loved to be a House of Reps member. I would have loved to be this. I would have loved to be the. In fact, for the government business wise, like people like Dangote, you may be surprised that if Dangote go and contest governorship election in his state, he might not win. He might not, despite all the monies
that he has.
But that does not mean that he might also fail. Also, so it might, and that might is a conditional clause, which means that he can win, he may not win. So it is not business and business partners or the quantum of money that you have. Okay, let me tell you. In the days of River State being one state, Chief Medforokilo of blessed memory doesn't have any money. He was having a what we call that small car called Volkswagen.
Yeah.
That Beetle Volkswagen.
Yeah.
And as somebody who just come up, people push him, and then you will become, and then that have been a day. You also know the issue of Rufus Sada George, even though that one was a short time. When Chief Sergeant Awuse and Eric Saw was fighting on the other side, we don't know how something happened, and the Rufus Sada George was brought to bear, and he became the governor. Also know when there were heavyweights, and then the issue of Peter Odili, came up on board, and Peter Odili also became governor.
Yeah.
So most times, it's not the heavyweights, it's not the magnificent, it's not the Goliaths that always win most of this battle. But sometimes a quiet David somewhere, like David, even though I'm surprised he did not pick the form. A David somewhere, leading shepherd, can be the governor of a state. Most time, unlikely, it's not your permutation. Because especially now that the Electoral Act is working and people are going to vote, sometimes people can give protest votes. People can give protest votes. And the APC have suffered for so long. Let me take you back in the history of 2015, where it was difficult to even mention who will be the candidate of the party. Until very close to the time that the INEC will soon say that there will be no time again. Until the pronouncement come from one stakeholders meeting that Dr. Dawood Peter said is a flag bearer. It was not that it was where they voted. No, there was no voting. And that keep on dragging. And that also resulted to losing that election. Because you brought a candidate so late, and because it wasn't a popular demand, it was by pronouncement by the leader, a lot of people fell slided. Because in this thing, like it happened in the presidential election, Buhari could not choose anybody, even though Buhari have more love for some people there. Did he have the opportunity to choose?
So let's go back to that now. From 2015, just like Mr. Parazoko has established, from 2015 up to 2019, APC kept having these particular issues, and of course, then the then Minister of Transportation was still in power. At least he was still in office. Currently, he's not a governor, he's not a minister, he does not hold any political office. Do you still think that his loyalists will still listen to him, knowing that there are no visible benefits that could emanate from the former Minister of Transportation?
Well, if you say he is not in power, you are saying directly he is not in power. But indirectly, Right Honorable Chibike Rotimi Amechi is still in power. Because as it is, federal government sort of nominating who will become a minister representative from River State. He nominated, so he's still in power.
And his candidate came through.
His candidate came through.
That's basically a preference that was given to him. We can say that is a preference.
No. If you say preference, it's as if it's like sympathy. It's not sympathy, it's his right. Because he's a leader of the party. You understand? He's leader of the party. See, when you talk about what you are saying, being in leadership, and being a leader, there are two different things. He is the leader of APC in South and in River State. He is a leader. So being in leadership is that he's part of a caucus that leads. That means he is not in the arena when you talk of the presidency. He's not inside, but that doesn't mean as the leader of a party that he cannot make impute when it comes to leadership. No. So I feel that his loyalists at the point may not be standing on what he is, but will stand on what he used to be and what he will be and what he is.
So you're saying this, they
Yes.
still have that belief in
They
him,
have
that,
the belief
that he
even
will
more than-
deliver.
even more than they have belief that he will deliver at any time. They believe see a lot of followers of Chibike Amechi believe that when things are tight, that is when he succeeds. So even when things are like this, they feel this is even when they need to work with him closely, because the hands of the clock may just turn at the 11th hour and you see the change you never expected.
Okay.
That is the truth.
Well, it's
And
been
that's politics.
well, just like you said, it is politics.
And very quickly,
Yeah.
I think that the piece that Amechi Chibike want to bring, the right honorable, should
Yeah.
be holistic. It shouldn't be like the one we are farming.
Likes factionized.
Yeah, it shouldn't be fractionalized because
Yeah.
you must bring to bear the people like Senator Magnus Abe and other people who have left. There are people who have really left the party.
Sure.
And because just like he said, as a leader, it's not because everything a leader says must go through. A leader must consult. A leader must listen to people's opinion. A leader must weigh options. A leader must also allow sometimes the subject of you now to have a say. Not sometimes people will have meeting all over and you appoint somebody to talk and the other one say, hey, you don't have anything to say, you don't have anything to offer. No.
I think that has been some of the grievances that most of the APC members we are actually clamoring or crying out for. But again, it's been a very wonderful conversation. Let's quickly go for a break, and when we come back, we'll go to the next issue where we have the All Farmers Association of Nigeria making demands that the federal government should provide more dams on grazing routes to prevent header farmer nowhere. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back, and of course it's been a very beautiful conversation right here at Atlantic Television Network on the Press Roundtable, and we've had the president of the Pius Duko Foundation, Mr. Pius Duko himself, in the studio with us, and he's been giving lots and lots of contributions and input as regards to the topic that we've had this evening. And of course we also have Davis Inhem Nacho, a correspondent and also an editor with the Vanguard paper. And of course, before we went on that break, we first talked about Kwankwaso rather saying that the Labour Party cannot win an election come 2023, and they will move further to where the former Minister of Transportation, Right Honorable Rotimi Chibike says he is going to unite the party in 3 weeks. Well, now moving on to the conversation this evening, we have the All Farmers Association of Nigeria saying that more dams on grazing routes should rather that the federal government should provide more dams on grazing routes to prevent elder-farmer conflict. The apex body of farmers in Nigeria, which is known as the All Farmers Association of Nigeria, AFAN, last weekend called on the Federal Ministry of Water Resources to provide more dams along grazing routes to prevent elder-farmer conflicts. Now, speaking with a particular news agency in a telephone chat, the national president, AFAN architect Kabiri Ibrahim, said dams would be cardinal panacea to the protracted header farmer conflicts in the country. Ibrahim said the conflict has taken too many lives following incessant attacks from both ends. Hence, the Federal Ministry of Water Resources should consider construction of dams to meet the water needs of both headers and farmers. let's come from you, Mr. Pius. Now, do you think?
So Pius is here.
Sorry, sir. Thank you. Let's go to Mr. Davis. You know, do you think that the request by the All Farmers Association of Nigeria for the Ministry of Water Resources to provide more dams, do you think this is going to bring a solution to the conflicts they've been having with the header farmers conflict?
I think the request will worsen, will even cause more crisis.
Okay.
Yes, because when you do your business, you should have the capacity, you should have the capital to invest to do your business. If that is done, then all fishers in Rivers State will also insist that federal government sinks boreholes for everybody that is into fish farming and all of that. I think at the point what the country needs, well, maybe their call is coming from the very fact or from the standpoint that federal government should make the environment, the atmosphere very useful and good for them to operate.
Yeah.
But I think it's sectional because from the call you understand that their interest is for the cattle rearers. Then what happens to the people who are into planting of crops, like in the southern part of the country, in the east, in the south, and in southwest? What happens? So I think that call is not, to me, it's not necessary. If you are ready to do business, then be ready to invest and have your capital, invest to have facility, invest to have everything you need to work with, not for the federal government to provide a certain equipment or a certain thing you need to run your business. If they are saying federal government should give soft loan in order for people, you know, to form cooperative in order to achieve that, I think it's necessary. But for a group to come together that is standing almost like a cooperative to tell federal government to do to produce dam for them to operate freely, I think it's not necessary.
I think they, you know, they are basically looking at it from an angle where they need to broker peace between the farmers and the headers to be able to do business together.
That is not the cause of conflict between farmers and headers. Is not because there are no dams. That is not the problem. I think the problem is carefulness of people who are involved in business. People who are involved, like cattle rearers. I think there is a community in Emoha local government where they had a kind of disagreement. It wasn't because there was no dam. They had a stream where they take water around. But the problem was that they allowed their cattle to go into people's farm to feed. That's the problem. So it's about understanding, you knowing that this is my business. You make arrangement for your business. If you have cattle, you arrange on how your cattle should feed. So if federal government provides them, maybe very soon they will request that federal government should provide feed for grazing. Is it how businesses should be run? That is not how to provide good atmosphere. The good atmosphere should be giving them loan, then making security, keeping security so that headers do not go into the forest and they are ambushed and killed. I think that is the atmosphere they need, not for the federal government to begin to build dams around for them to operate. I don't think that call is necessary.
All right, let's also get the reaction of Mr. Pius.
I think that that call is in a hurry. First of all, this is the first time I'm hearing a farm talking about farmers and an issue when there have been killing there have been killing of 50 rice farmers who came to harvest rice and they were killed. They have found the association did not make any statement.
Nothing.
So, and then there have been consistent clashes in Benue, in Plateau, in almost other states. You did not say anything. Very soon, this man will also raise that they should bring subsidy for importation of grasses so that cows will begin to feed on the grasses. Importation of grasses. Because let me tell you, why will you say that they should, you know, create dams? Is it the dams that is the problem or the grasses? The grasses is even more weightier than water. They are talking about that there is a dryness, the grasses are not there, but you are talking about only water. If the cow did not feed on grass, where would they drink water from? So that is misplacement of priority in the first place, if you ask me. Secondly, why can't this man call that no cattle man or no herdsman should hold gun, whether pistol, AK-47, and whatever? In those days, what we need to hear, or what we have been hearing, is the whole bow and arrow. In case cattle roasters want to come and thief your cows, you can use the bow and arrow and chase them.
So they actually carry weapons then?
Then it was bow and arrow for cattle roasters. There are people who steal cattle from them. Let us be very frank.
Yeah, sure.
There are amongst them who want to topple their government that steal maybe 50 cows, 100 cows. But you can also imagine how will one person come and take 100 cows away?
Yeah, without being noticed.
Without being told. That one, the government can also protect the poor for them to have weapons. In fact, federal government have banned that. I don't know. Actually, sometimes we have executive order in this country. It's not being followed. President Muhammadu Buhari, that is still the current president of Nigeria, said anybody that they see with gun, either you're a farmer, you're a fisherman, you're a trader, you're a trader, or even you want the gun to protect your store. People have been looting your store, and you now buy AK-47 to arm yourself that the criminal should come. You should be arrested. You should not supposed to have a gun to protect your store because they break your store and do breaking and entry. If you begin to do like that in the country, but now we have not seen one person being arrested. So it's not fair when we want to make pronouncement that is not enforceable. It has bad as not making that pronouncement at all. So what we want it to be done is that let there be adequate security. Let there be demarcation, so that you don't carry your cows and go to eat my crops, my what I call the okra, the cassava, the maize, the onions, the potatoes, all those things. But that is bringing food crisis.
Do you think that can be possible? Because of course, this cattle also depends on the crops to feed on.
No, that's not true. Don't say that.
Okay.
Hey, let me tell you.
That is the reason. That is the reason Rivers State made anti-open grazing law.
There's a law. Apart from that,
Stopping them.
let me ask you a question. How many times have these cattle finished eating a forest? We have so many forests.
Yeah.
They should carry them to a forest and pin them there and let them finish eating that forest before they move to another forest. I tell you, for 50 years they won't be able. Have you seen them passing through forest and they will not even chop the grass in the forest? So I sometimes when I'm in a bus or a car or a taxi, passing and I see them through big group like that, moving from free places to farmland. I say, why are you going to the farmland? Is the one planted by the people that are more sweeter than the one that is originally there. So I think that there is a reason why they always go to farm. Because the grasses is here. This one is crops planted. And that's why there is food insecurity.
Okay, I think this is how far we can go. My both guests almost had to give me a punch there when I made a particular comment. But again, thank you so much, Mr. Pius Duka, who is actually the president of the Pius Duka Foundation. Thank you for being on the show tonight, sir. Thank you very much.
You're always welcome.
Thank
Anytime
you.
you call us, we have opportunity. We'll be there again.
Definitely.
Good.
Thank you. I think very soon, maybe after the 2023 election, in this election, Pius Duka should come out and let's vie for the presidency very soon. Let's have a journalist, lead us in our country, Nigeria.
Journalists are not bad.
Journalists are not bad, of course. And of course, thank you so much, Mr. Davis Nacho, for coming through as well on the show tonight. Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you. And to all our beautiful viewers, thank you very much for being on the show tonight. I believe you enjoyed yourself. The conversations, the perspectives, and the narrations, they actually brought a balance to all of it. And of course, you can follow us on all our social media handles. Twitter is at Atlantic TV Net. Facebook and YouTube is at Atlantic Television Network. Instagram is at Atlantic TV Network. Do remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. I am Victor Aki, and don't be in a hurry to change that because we have an interesting program coming your way right about now. It is about the 2023 election. So it is time for you to know your candidates. It's time for you to get informed and know what is happening come 2023. But until then, do have yourself a lovely evening, and thanks once again for watching.
Making the difference in our time on ATM icons. Here, we present you legends celebrated for their heroism in different fields.
The people, the candidates, the party, the campaigns. What really makes an election year? Enough of the rhetorics. It's time for issue-based politics. 2023 elections. Who are the candidates? What do you know about them? Take a seat, relax, and join us for the 2023 elections on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes, DTH, Channel 194, or ATN Live on Google Play Store and all our social media platforms. Twitter is at Atlantic TV Net. Facebook and YouTube is at Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram is at Atlantic TV Network. Elections 2023 from Mondays to Fridays at 8 p.m. Election 2023. We the people have a stake.
And welcome to Election 2023. What are we doing? What are we talking about in Election 2023? Well, straight up, Nigeria's nascent democracy, for those who have been taking note, has been growing in leap and bound, in leap by leap, beg your pardon. Now, since independence in 1960, this democratic dispensation is the longest without any military interruption. Our previous democratic experiences were bedeviled with crises that led to military intervention. However, since 1999, despite accusations and counter-accusations, the political actors have been hopeful that the next election will remedy whatever shortcomings of a particular election. It is in this stead that the actors in the political process are hinging their hope that 2023 general elections have the likelihood of being better than the previous elections in this dispensation. There has been developments that make 2023 election very interesting. They include the new electoral law that has electronic provisions, the perceived independence of the INEC, the massive awareness of the part of the electorate, on the part of the electorate, and the issue of votes buying. How these and others will affect the next general election becomes a great concern to all and sundry. On our part, for Atlantic Television Network, as a media, with an objective of providing a platform for the people to ventilate their voice, restore human dignity, and ensure satisfaction to the people, has in its characteristic style packaged a special program that will be dedicated to ensuring that the people knows the candidates and what they stand for. Therefore, ATN 2023 election is a platform designed to discuss issues around the general election, x-ray the candidates, and provide a medium to give the people a voice. Now, last night we looked, on Friday, I beg your pardon, we looked at the first candidates that we extrained on the show, and that's Alhaji, of course, the Jagaban himself. We looked at Tinubu, who he is, what he is, and everything he has had to do in his political career, in his life generally. And of course, we looked at some of the controversies surrounding Tinubu. Tonight on 2023 elections, we are profiling Atiku Abubakar. Everyone meet Atiku Abubakar, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party. But before I go into the story of who Atiku Abubakar is, I'd like you to know that I'm not doing this alone. I have my co-host, Ade Jumo Adekunle. Good to have you here on Election 2023.
Making sure that we get the right views to the right voters. So I'm happy.
I'm excited to have you here. Now, let's go back to who is Atiku Abubakar. That's the most important conversation we're having tonight. For those of you who were not aware, Atiku Abubakar is one man that a lot of you need to meet. Now, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, was born on 25th November 1946 in Jada, a village which was then under the administration of the British Cameroons. The territory later joined with the Federation of Nigeria in the 1961 British Cameroons referendum. His father, Garba Abubakar, was a Fulani trader and farmer, and his mother was Aisha Kande. He was named after his paternal grandfather, Atiku Abdul Qadir, and became the only child of his parents when his only sister died at infancy in 1957. His father died by drowning while crossing a river to Twango and the neighboring village to Jada. Atiku Abubakar, JCON, was born 25th November 1946. He is a Nigerian politician and businessman who has served as the Vice President of Nigeria from 1999 to 2007 during the presidency of Olusegun Obasanjo. Since the return to democracy, Abubakar has contested in all the elections. In 1993, he contested the Social Democratic Party presidential primaries, losing to Moshood Abiola and Baba Gana Kingibe. He twice ran as governor of Adamawa State in 1990 and later in 1998, being elected before becoming Olusegun Obasanjo's running mate during the 1999 presidential election and re-elected in 2003. He was a presidential candidate of the Action Congress in the 2007 presidential election. He contested the presidential primaries of the People's Democratic Party for the 2011 presidential election, losing to President Goodluck Jonathan. In 2014, he joined the All Progressive Congress ahead of the 2015 presidential election and contested presidential primaries, losing to Muhammadu Buhari in 2017. He returned to the People's Democratic Party and was the party presidential candidate during the 2019 presidential election, again losing to incumbent President Muhammadu Buhari. Since 1993, Atiku Abubakar has unsuccessfully contested 6 times for the office of President of Nigeria in 1993, 1998, 2007, 2011, 2015, and 2019. And that is Atiku Abubakar, the presidential candidate for the People's Democratic Party come 2023 elections. I'd like to come back to you, Ade. I took my time to read that because also first we're going to look at the issues of controversies around Atiku. Now, when we look at Atiku 6 times, can you remember how many times Buhari have had to contest? I don't know if Buhari has contested as much as Atiku. Yet he hasn't given up. I think that's, okay, let's be honest, not going into all the details. That's a good lesson to learn from the consistency. But again, every time he has gotten into an elective position, not an appointed one, as a vice or a deputy or what have you, every time I think I've gotten into such position, he has never really ended up holding. When he won the state governorship election, Obasanjo pulled him out to become a deputy. And he's been playing the deputy role. And even when he was done with that, he started contesting. He never won any of the elections. Yet, he's not giving up. I think that's a lesson. But again, what's your take on Atiku Abubakar?
Atiku Abubakar is one man that stands for the aphorism, practice makes perfect. Because when you x-ray his life and you look at how far he has come, 6 times, without being pessimistic, who knew or who knows if the current 2023 election would actually make it his 7th trial? I'm just asking a question.
Why you like this now?
No, it's a rhetoric that we have to logically follow through. Because when you look at the antagonistic impulses that Atiku is getting from different quarters, of course, let's not eliminate the fact that former President Olusegun Obasanjo has always been on Atiku's tail, calling him on different terms and saying, oh, I don't think this guy is having the legitimacy to become the president. Yet, Atiku is persistently pushing on. So you can see that there is a direct motivation to become the president. However, one thing I, as an individual, am yet to ascertain is, what exactly is Atiku looking for? Is it to fix Nigeria, as they will say in quotes, or to bear the name before he finally retires?
Ade, you're asking me. I'm not Atiku Abubakar's spokesperson, and I cannot honestly tell you that this is what Atiku is looking at. But I can tell you for sure, he wants to be a president.
Okay.
I don't know what he wants to do with that, but Atiku wants to be. Come on, Buhari. I say Buhari. Tinubu said his life mission have always been to be a president, and he's on his way there. So I think Atiku just wants to be a president because they don't understand the role of a statesman, as the case may be. So they just want to test that power, that ultimate power, the ultimate veto power, where they can use it to do whatever they want. But again, this man, Atiku Abubakar, aside of his developmental business impact, can we begin to look at developmental strides? Can you think of anything off your head? I know he has some schools here and there, around. However, those are his private businesses. When we talk about someone who has an impact in the life of the people, direct impact, one would want to say, oh, this is who we know Atiku to be. This is what he has done. There's a lot of things that's been said about Atiku, but very recently, let's begin to look at that. President Olusegun, former President Olusegun Obasanjo, came out to say that. You know what? One thing about that conversation about President Olusegun Obasanjo is this: he wasn't there for a political conversation. He wasn't there to talk about anything politics. He was primarily there to give a talk to students. But he seized that opportunity, and you say, seize the day. He did seize the day to bring to the mind of people, hey, this is what is going on. Oh. This guy was one of the biggest mistakes I made. You know, in his book, My Watch, he took time to detail, to detail a whole lot about Atiku Abubakar. Thereby, if you wanted to trust this man, this is a testimony on him. Don't bother trusting him. However, like you said, Atiku is not deterred. He's been going on and on and on, and he doesn't really care whose ox is cut. But one power game that Atiku is playing the PDP right now that is getting interesting by the day is a power play between him and Nyesom Wike. Who do you think is going to give in at the end of the day? You think it's going to be Atiku? Because I just heard today well, that's part of what we're going to talk about, that he's on the panel that has been set up to go meet the Jagaban of PDP.
Yes, exactly. First off, Obasanjo had left a trail that will never be cleaned for Atiku Abubakar. He had penned down something in history that anyone can just fall back to and make reference. That is not to say, as human being, Atiku Abubakar is totally or is. Wasn't it considered laudable or important for the public to know before now? So you were saving it in the archives for the political or for the campaigning era. So you can see some of these discrepancies playing out. And yes, Atiku might have one or two NGOs set up in different quarters of the country or maybe outside in diaspora. However, how pronounced are these, NGOs in the life of the people?
I will tell you about NGOs. Are they NGO? He's a known name. He has an NGO.
That's true.
We know what the NGO is into. We know he has a foundation. We know what the foundation is into. If Tony Elumelu should come out, he wants to contest for presidency today. No young African person will say, you don't know who Tony Elumelu, except you've not been following the news. So we know about Tony Elumelu. I'm just using that, citing that.
I'm a beneficiary.
Okay, good.
I'm a beneficiary.
Good. So when we say Tony Elumelu, okay, everybody knows who he is. He's not just owning a private business, but he's also using the business to empower young minds. And this can be said across board. So I don't know anything he has done as an individual that can close my eyes. Okay, for it. There hasn't been a part of him that says, this is the Nigeria of my dream. So the question in my head, we looked at Tinubu on Friday. Now we're looking at Atiku today. We hope to extract P2B tomorrow, Kwankwaso, and on. However, on Atiku today, so looking in my head, what can we say? This is who an Atiku is. Aside of him being a political person, being in government, and of course, making money according to Obasanjo, I didn't say selling of government assets. I don't want to mention the assets. But these are all the things that contain in Obasanjo's. So I say, that he's basically saying, this is who Atiku is. He doesn't care about anybody. He's just out there to get it done for himself. Now, before going to all the controversies that are surrounding Atiku, so what can we reveal? You've invested and given this to the people. What are the guarantees that you will not come in, for instance, and turn the whole Nigerian university into a private university where the children of the poor can no longer have access to it? I mean, I just remember Sarah
The campaigns. What really makes an election year? Enough of the rhetorics. It's time for issue-based politics 2023 elections. Who are the candidates? What do you know about them? Take a seat, relax, and join us for the 2023 elections on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes, DTH, Channel 194, or ATN Live on Google Play Store and all our social media platforms. Twitter is at Atlantic TV Net. Facebook and YouTube is at Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram is at Atlantic TV Network. Elections 2023 from Mondays to Fridays at 8 p.m. Election 2023. We the people have a stake.
Elections and the second edition of the show, and our future is on Atiku Abubakar. Get to meet him, who he is, an astute Nigerian politician, no doubt about that. But again, what else do you know about him, Ade?
Now, before we took that break, we made some very strong pronunciation that made me want to leave this seat. You know, he talked about the fact that Atiku had been pursuing this particular position. This will make it the 7th attempt. And if you look at how Nigerian politicians have been functioning, all back those funds that they had used in elections, their private purse back.
But that's what it is.
And yes, and sometimes they also try to settle some of their followers that have given time to them. Now let's ask ourselves this question. If Atiku had invested so much time for 6 years and counting, and he...
Remember, he's actually trying to pass information across to say, I am in my 80s. I can still drive keke.
That's true.
I'm still healthy. I still move about. I've never had to run abroad for treatment. But again, that's Obasanjo. That was just on a lighter note. Over now to you, Ade.
Okay, so in all, looking at the trajectory that we've seen, just have to look at how it works and move on. But still on the 2023 elections and controversy surrounding Atiku Abubakar, PDP presidential candidate, the first question that comes to mind is Atiku truly Nigerian? In 2021, a suit was instituted against Atiku, insisting he had committed an offense under Section 118, subsection 1, subsection K of the electoral...
Going to use right now to look at it to say, okay, this man, I am, as an Atiku Abubakar, I am a full Nigerian because I married an Igbo woman. I don't know what they are going to bring to the table this time. I can't wait for the campaign.
It is, and the rest of that here and there. Now, politics in Nigeria has come to be equated with people making some illogical moves or permutation to just get a point across. When it's political time, you find a politician going to somewhere, claiming to do artisanal work just to appeal to some certain set of persons. Those are propaganda mechanisms for me. You find them wearing, okay, say they want to visit somewhere in a locality, they go in the people's attire. Yes, in one way, on the surface, it can be argued that, oh, they are just trying to blend in. But when you look at the underlying messages, they are trying to sway the people over and make them become somewhat docile. Same thing that occurred with the... Of what importance is it if you got married to an Igbo woman? Of what importance is it?
That he loves the Igbos. What do you mean?
That's the point I'm trying to make. So these are just propaganda techniques to get the people on board with you. Then at the end of the day, you make discard of them.
But you see, there's something that here is my take on discarding people. Who is discarding who? I think these things are choices. When people make this choice to live with it. And what choices are we talking about being able to live with? If you choose someone like Atiku as your presidential candidate and he wins the election, we should be able to live it, because like you said, marrying an Igbo woman shouldn't really be an issue. So, but my thing is, I'm wondering what they are going to use this time. But let's look at another scandal that surrounds Atiku Abubakar, another issue of controversy. Now, for those of you who may not have been following, Atiku was also implicated in an international bribery scandal along with William Jefferson and one of Atiku's wife, Jennifer Atiku Abubakar. Following rumors by pundits that Atiku was unable to visit the United States in January 2017, the U.S. government released a statement saying it would need the consent of the politician before it can disclose the true state of his immigration status to the United States. Abubakar has publicly claimed that the true reason is that his visa is still being processed. However, in recent times, Atiku, in company with Bukola Saraki, visited the United States 17th of January 2019 with the aid of Brian Ballard Abubakar, the Mogul. Now, let's come back to something else, which is about his business enterprise. Everybody knows about Intel's, and that's one thing that people know so well about him now. Intel's Nigeria Limited provides integrated logistics services for the Nigerian oil and gas industry. It offers agencies, services and other, but these are basically issues around that. But I wanted us to go into the Halliburton issue. Let's save that for when the campaigns release, so that his opponents can have what to do. But let's bring this back to who is Atiku in all of this. Who is Atiku Abubakar as a candidate? What does it portend for us as Nigerians if Atiku becomes the president of Nigeria? Now, in 2019, what people campaigned for him was primarily, oh, he has created lots of businesses, so he's going to use our money. Well, but with the kind of economy we are running right now, is it safe to look at men who made money through the government, who have been able to sustain their business through the government as a way out of the quagmire we find ourselves economically? We cannot say from customs, I learned, to becoming the vice president of Nigeria. He got into politics, and since then, he's been from one height to the other. So he owned businesses and private businesses across the country. However, did he go through the rudiments, or were these businesses he had to establish because he had access to government funds? These are some of the questions we have at the back of our minds. If we're going to look at a technocrat, a business person, someone who understands what it means to be a business, but who understands the economy, how these things work, would Atiku Abubakar, in your estimation, this the kind of person we should be looking at?
That is a very critical question. Now, I would want to take it from the roots, but we don't have much time. Now, let us take a look at how Atiku Abubakar started after the passing of his father and the whole drama that ensued. Atiku Abubakar's first house, as history will make us know, was built from a loan he took, and eventually he had people to come live in the house with which he used to, repay his loans and other terms attached to it. However, if we cast our mind back to the early, say, 1880, in one way, Atiku, yes, ventured into politics and made money. But in another way, he had been able to pull up businesses and grow them. Some persons who would, raise doubts to how his wealth has come to be aggregated, because Atiku is not rich, he's wealthy.
Yes.
They would argue that, it's because he gets constant inflow of money from politics. Of course, you know that he has loyalists and people that he had bred in the whole practice. Similarly, from time to time, they will be paying homages. So these are some of the things that we'll be looking at. So naturally speaking, people would argue that Joe Biden is 95. Yes.
As a 95 years old.
95 years old.
Oh, well.
And they would say, the person cannot handle it.
And of course, with Yaradua, who was also ill, and we had no idea he going to power, and after some time he passed on, and we saw how it was difficult for his people to let go of the power, if not for our own late Dora Kuyili. And now bringing that back to the next, after Goodluck, of course, we had the President Muhammad Buhari. We saw how ill health messed up a lot of things. So people, to the point that Nnamdi Kanu and his gang could literally find a way to push in doubt in the minds of Nigerians. But bring that back again, looking at the person. So I don't think it's about age. How old was Trump? Trump and Atiku, they are around the same age. I don't think it's about age. You can't be old, but are you healthy? Now, if you're healthy, I don't see that as a major issue. Now, but however, speaking about being healthy and the issues around health, over time, Atiku is being said not to live in Nigeria, that he lives in another country, which I don't want to mention. I don't know how true that is. So one question I have for you before we get out of here, do you think Atiku believes in Nigeria?
Handle it with a sense of care and being meticulous. Concerning whether Atiku cares about Nigeria or not, the first reading that would give us a hint into that particular idea is his manifesto.
Ah, party manifesto, you mean?
Yes, it's a personal manifesto.
do they usually have vote? What I know, they have party manifesto.
You know,
and I don't know, maybe they are going to copy from UAE, right?
during the when I could remember in 2015 or thereabout, when President Goodluck Jonathan was coming on board, he had his personal manifesto.
But that's
Some of
Goodluck
them had,
Jonathan.
Yaradua had the 3-point agenda, was it 4-point, 5-point agenda? And the rest of that, those are personal manifesto.
Yeah.
What do you intend to fix in Nigeria? I know some persons like, what's his name again? Some persons have come out to help Atiku profess a personal manifesto to say, oh, he wants to fix Nigeria. Okay, that is the dancing senator, Dino Milaye, says he wants to fix Nigeria and all of that. But if you check it properly, what exactly is the person of Atiku saying?
You see, you just raised a critical question. Atiku contested in 2015, at least 2019, at least one we are sure of. What was his manifesto? Can you think of?
I can't lay my hand on any.
Okay.
Exactly.
Now, but you see, when you talk about personal manifesto, yeah, I do one of these was on security. I will know that when he got into power, just few months after that, he went on out and then ensured that the presidential amnesty program was, put in place, which has, whether you like it or not, it may not be in perfect proceedings, but it has saved the Niger Delta from
Vivian, you see, the energy former, or should I say late President Yaradua brought into power was the same energy that was infused into former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan to carry on. Because we could see that if it wasn't for the late 2015, when the Boko Haram menace struck at Nyanya, there was no discredit to Goodluck Jonathan's administration. It was that particular incident that even gave way to the person of President Muhammadu Buhari holding that position today. We remember the very laudable comments made by Jonathan then that his re-election is not worth the blood of any Nigerian. So people rested their fact and said, oh, let's give it now. That's on the one hand. When we look at some of the issues Nigerians try to extray, yes, there's the matter of age. You will now see that, of course, a couple of days back, there were pictures online of Atiku, being in the gym and exercising. Yes, he knows some of these rhetorics, that Nigerians are talking down the line of health, they are talking down the line of expertise, they are talking down the line of experience, and most importantly, having the people at heart. So, when we begin to see personal manifesto from such persons, we then understand that they truly know what the needs, yearnings, and aspirations of Nigerians are.
Let me quickly come to this. Speaking of Atiku Abubakar and understand the yearnings of Nigeria, remember the recent issue about Deborah Samuel Yakubu, the
girl that was
Shagari Polytechnic girl who was burnt by religious
some mobs,
fanatics.
yes.
Now, remember the incident, how someone, a mystery human being, said something that looked like they were in support of the whole
and had to delete it.
He had to, of course, he deleted it, now said that wasn't his position. Till date, his position is still not clear on these fanatics who murder people at whim, just at the flip of the finger, and it means nothing to them. Up till date, Nigerians don't know what Atiku's position is on that. And do you think we would ever find out? That's what I'm asking. Do you think we'll ever find out what exactly? So when you talk about his personal manifesto, honestly, what is Atiku's personal manifesto? What is it going to be? Is it going to be different from the person we have known? It's going to be this, people call him, an astute businessman, they call him astute politician and all that, how he was able to beat Wike in 2018 in Port Harcourt, how he was able to beat Wike in 2019, also how he was able to choose whoever he wanted as a running mate. There's this praise, hyping, he owns businesses, he's going to restore Nigerian economy and all that. However, who is Atiku Abubakar to Nigerians? Does he have a national project, a people's project that we can identify him with? Does he have something we can say, because of this, we trust this man that he's going to handle our affairs? And like you said, I'm not using our money to pay back the loans that he has, acquired all these years running for presidency. What exactly is his interest? What is going to be in his personal portfolio if he's going to have one? These are the questions I think that Nigerians need to begin to ask right now. What exactly is in Atiku's portfolio? What exactly is it going to say? Do you wait for it, print it, ask it? And then when we find journalists, we also have a lot of job to do in this. And I hope that our colleagues will go out all as. I mean, during 2019, I don't want to mention her name, but we watched that interview. We're asking ourselves, is it an interview? You know, literally, Professor Sibanjo was basically saying, hey, no, it's not this one, take this one, say it's like this on live TV. And, you know, there's so many things. But again, let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that somehow, we can find a way to get something out of all this. But we'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll go into PDP's panel that has been set up to do what? To beg yes, we'll be right back.
The people, the candidates, the party, the campaigns. What really makes an election year? Enough of the rhetorics. It's time for issue-based politics. 2023 elections. Who are the candidates? What do you know about them? Take a seat, relax, and join us for the 2023 elections on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes, DTH, Channel 194, or ATN Live on Google Play Store and all our social media platforms. Twitter is at Atlantic TV Net. Facebook and YouTube is at Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram is at Atlantic TV Network. Election 2023 from Mondays to Fridays at 8 p.m. Election 2023. We the people have a stake.
Back. You're still on 23 election day 2, and we've been able to estray Atiku Abubakar. Honestly, sitting down here, aside of his businesses, aside of his political journey, we can't really say this is Atiku Abubakar, the Nigerian man who wants to be a president. We can't really paint anything. This is why we should vote for him. And it's because, is it really enough to say that you've always contested to be a president of Nigeria? Is it really enough? I mean, Aliko Dangote is a businessman, of course. He's a businessman. And to the best of our knowledge, he's not doing badly. We have several business people. I mean, there are several of them. Let's not even go into mention. So, is this really about owning businesses, private business? Where is the people in Atiku Abubakar's plan? Till this moment, where is Nigerians in Atiku Abubakar's life journey? What is it about Atiku Abubakar? I can say when you see it, is identified. So all we've known about him is this businessman who made money in government, according to Obasanjo. He made money in government. He used this money to do a whole lot. But aside of that, we don't have any clear-cut identity to say, and Atiku Abubakar, oh, this is who he is. For recently, a school in his hometown was allegedly, thrown into the social media. So let them know that we have a stake. What exactly is our stake? Are they going to show us our stake? Who amongst these men clamoring to become the president of Nigeria deserves your one vote? That one vote that makes who amongst these men deserves that one vote? That's one thing you need to be asking yourself. It's as critical as that, because it's like I'm handing the next 8 years of my life into your hands. Do you trust an Atiku Abubakar? We looked at Tinubu on Friday. Do you trust Tinubu to actually open the doors? When you give him that vote, when you give either of these men that vote, do you trust that they are going to use this well? They're going to put it into good use. What is it about them that we can say, okay, this is a national perception of aspect of this person, and this is their perception of national issues, not just by mere words, but seeing that this action, these words, or whatever, if they have any to say, like my colleague is talking about, their personal manifesto. Of course, Yar'Adua had the 3-point agenda, and it was that easy, like, okay, this is where we're going to, and we'll just go there. But as usual, up till now, we have the people clamoring for them on social media and all that. But give us a clear-cut identity. Where is the people in the life of these old men who have lived a full life but just want to become the president so they could cap it off to say, I was a president? Well, maybe resurrection money. And God waits for them to say, I was a president in my lifetime. So if you don't know that, Atiku Abubakar was the president, Ahmed Bola Tinubu was the president. Is that what it's about? So when you look at these characters, as we extray them to you, before we get into the full conversations and all that, ask yourself, where am I in this person's plan? We've known them all their life. Their lives are before us. So ask yourself, is this about them and their cronies? Is this about them and the people, or them for the people? So where is Nigerians in Atiku Abubakar's life story so far? If he doesn't have any to show, what guarantee do you have? If he doesn't have any Nigerian project, a project that says this is Nigerian project, if he doesn't have that, what are the guarantees then that when he gets into power, he's not going to get into power to enrich himself, like Obasanjo said, use the money to establish more businesses? What exactly is he going to do? If he hasn't in any way served Nigeria in the private sector, served Nigeria as an individual, a wealthy man like Adejumo said, who is Atiku Abubakar? Where do we fit in? Where have you seen us fit in as a people, as a Nigerian, apart from telling us you want to be president? But again, the good thing is that young Nigerians are saying it is no longer enough. We don't want to hear that. We, the people, have a stake. Where is our stake here? Show us who want to see it. We'll keep asking this question. Of course, we're going to bring you another presidential candidate by tomorrow. But let's go to our last story for tonight. And Salud Atiku Abubakar, incidentally, Atiku heads panel to beg Wike, sequel to Atiku's victory at the PDP convention where he beat Wike and other contenders to get the presidential ticket. Atiku had nominated Okoa as his running mate, despite the recommendation of Wike by a 7-man committee set up by the party. As the crisis over Atiku's running mate was sent, the chairman of the PDP's Board of Trustees, Senator Wali Jibrin, said the party had set up a 9-member committee to beg Wike. Earlier, certain chieftains of the party, including the governor of Benue State, Samuel Otom, former Plateau State Governor Jonah Jang, and others, had criticized the choice of Okoa as the party's vice presidential candidate. There were reports on that Wike snubbed a former Minister of Police Affairs and an ally of Atiku, Adamu Waziri, who attempted to initiate a peace talk with him in Turkey. The party had also raised another panel headed by Atiku to pacify the aggrieved governor and prevail on him not to leave the party. And then back to you. Let me get your take on this. Let me get your take on before we go on.
The beautiful thing is that, number one, Governor Nyesom Wike is back from Turkey.
Yeah.
When he was touching ground yesterday, there were several videos to say, oh, the Inyerishi is back.
The Jagaban
of PDP is back. Now, where does Atiku come into the picture in all of this? Let us not forget that the convention, the PDP presidential primaries rather, that was held, according to what is in the public glare, was a dollar convention.
Oh yeah.
Was a dollar convention.
We saw the money, we saw even those who were able to buy car immediately with that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, if you had gone to the Bureau de Change the day after, you'd have seen a lot of drama. People were pursuing to sell dollar and get naira back. Now, that being said, when you look at how Wike has dedicated his life to the PDP and how much force he pulls, the PDP cannot afford to lose him. Let me give you a perfect scenario. Say in a class of 16%, the SP is being, grieved, or somebody erred against the SP, and he knows the power that he wields. He wouldn't talk too much. He would just wait for that time when he would have to go and report to the proprietor or to summon the people that be for him to overrule or undo you. That's exactly what's playing out in Wike's case.
You think
so? Yes, because this is my own opinion, because Wike is not saying anything. And we know that silence is golden.
Oh, I can totally agree with, listen, for a man as loquacious as Nyesom Wike, for him to keep quiet, now there's fire on the mountain.
People even equate Nyesom Wike to Obasanjo, because if you check the history of Nigerian politics, who has ever been more dramatic as Obasanjo? It's Wike, in different occasions and on different times. However, The man came back from the presidential primaries. He suddenly went numb. As in, the silence is even overwhelming in the states. It's as if we can stop talking, the state stops talking.
I want to quickly come in there. I like the narrative of this picture of the governor of Rivers State that we have painted or would like to paint. The strong man, the Jagaban of PDP. I like that one more because someone said, is Atiku mocking him or he's actually trying to brainwash? Okay, I think one of our guests said that that's what we're saying in Nigerian palace, whining someone. Now, but let's look at this critically. Wicked is strong man. Is he a strong man based on his political roots as per the number of people he commands, or is he a strong, it's like a Kwankwaso. When Kwankwaso comes out, we know that this guy commands multitude, he commands crowd, okay? So is he a Jagaban of PDP because he commands such number? Because politics is about permutation, doesn't matter what you say, or because he has the money, he has the Rivers money, and he has, so that's the power. What power does he have? Because the man with the numbers can be speaking to the man with the money. Because I can collect your money. Tambuwa did, we heard. After all that he allegedly spent, Tambuwa ended up taking a sandwich. That is what, if you listen to some NGOs in their
the analysis.
In their, not just the analysis, now in their Declaration for 2023, what people should do and all that, they're basically saying, collect the money. So even some skit makers collect the money, but vote for your conscience or vote your choice as the case may be. Now, when we say it's good that they want to beg Wiki, because I keep saying, no matter how bad a political party is, let them be there, at least for the role of opposition. It is very, very critical. Now let's look at this strongman Wiki that we have always painted or followed. It's like when they say the North has the numbers and all that, and we don't want to have the conversation of the number of Igbos or number of Niger Deltans who live in the North and in Lagos. So if they are forced to come back, but we're not talking about the political permutation today and the analysis that we have controlled our political sphere. But let's come back to Wiki, the strongman. I said earlier on, I think today, there are about 6 South states.
Yes.
How many does Wike have a hold on? In terms of political hold, not money hold. Let's start from Edo State. We know that's a broken boundary.
Yeah, it's a no-go area.
Is not, let's even count Edo State out. Because those who would have been, who were strongholds, who would have found a way to make things happen, they have also silenced them, the likes of Adams Oshomole. They've also silenced them in the APC.
But there's a reawakening on the side of Adams Oshomole.
But how vibrant is it?
It wouldn't be business as usual.
Exactly. And then there is late. That's another stronghold that would have been able to make something happen. And the others are just neither here nor there. So Obaseke is a stronghold that Wike, unfortunately, have messed up his relationship with him. That doesn't make Adobaseke a perfect person. Let's come back again to, from there, let's come to Bayelsa State.
I think in the case of Bayelsa, Doyodiri is just aloof.
Good.
It's just on its own. Allow me to do my thing.
But
and not to forget that of recent, we had Ernest one well.
But,
was it 2-1?
No, but...
Yes.
But the interesting thing about Doyodiri's case is, Bayelsa, as small as it is, there are several political strongholds in Bayelsa State. And Doyodiri, yes, fortunately he became a governor. You can't really say he has that much of a stronghold, politically speaking. Let's bring it back to Rivers State. We already know the state of the PDP in Rivers State. That if push comes to shove, they could even tear it down further by making offers that he may not even see coming. And because Wike has messed with a lot of people in PDP, there are chances that they will not even listen to him in the first place. Now, quickly, let's go to Akwa Ibom State. Of course, Udom Emmanuel is not even at par with him. We know the issue of Ben Ayade. So which of these states, now, don't how many I've mentioned, do you think Wike has a stronghold on?
Let me fall back to former Governor Rotimi Chibike Amechi. If you check closely, some of the mistakes Governor Nyesom Wike had made, former Governor Rotimi Amechi made, Wike repeated them.
Interestingly.
Now,
remember the father that go please.
Exactly. Now, if we begin to take a pencil trail of those events, you would now notice that the same reasons that conferred prominence on former governor Rotimi Chibikamechi was the same reason that conferred it on Wike. It's just that Wike happened to be a little bit dramatic. But when it comes to holding your grounds, you can equate him on the same pedestal with Rotimi Chibikamechi. Don't also forget that during then he was the supervising state minister of education.
He was
Now,
for chief of staff and then.
exactly. Now, what exactly makes Wike the quote and unquote Jagaban that they're talking about? The finance.
Oh, thank you very much. And I think that's a good place to
the
Somebody
finance.
has got to say it. Let's be realistic here. Jagaban of PDP, they want to be, Rivers people say they want to collect their money. But again, we don't know all that. We're just here having fun as we x-ray these characters, this candidate, as the case may be, for the 2023 election. Thank you so much, Ade, for doing this with me tonight.
Thank you, Vivian.
I can't wait for tomorrow. Yes. Thank you
be a
so
pleasure.
much. And that's been 2023 election on ATN for tonight. Thank you, everyone. My name is Vivian Douglas, and I've had the
I am
honor of doing this
Adejimo
with-
Adekunle.
Thank you, Adejimo. You can follow us. Let's continue the conversation. Who is Atiku Abubakar? What are the reasons why you should give him that one vote? That's all you have. So, are you going to cast that vote for Atiku Abubakar? What will be the reason? Remember, when you put it in for Atiku, you're giving him the 4 years of your life. Maybe 8 years, because they end up, holding it so tight that they get to win the elections again. So, if you do this in 2023, that's one vote. That's all you have. What are you going to do with it? Follow us. Let's continue the conversation as we extract the candidates and talk about issues that gives the people an actual stake in the 2023 election. On Twitter, we're at Atlantic TV Net. Facebook and YouTube is at Atlantic Television Network. Instagram is at Atlantic TV Network. Remember that peace and unity are always the pathway to progress. Have a good night.
The people, the candidates, the party, the campaigns. What really makes an election year? Enough of the rhetorics. It's time for issue-based politics. 2023 elections. Who are the candidates? What do you know about them? Take a seat, relax, and join us for the 2023 elections on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes, DTH, Channel 194, or ATN Live on Google Play Store and all our social media platforms. Twitter is at Atlantic TV Net. Facebook and YouTube is at Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram is at Atlantic TV Network. Elections 2023 from Mondays to Fridays at 8 p.m. Election 2023. We the people have a stake. Rivers NSCDC guest news state commandant says no room for illegal oil dealings. 52 Edo communities shut down NPDC office with coffin. Hoodlums burn down INEC office in Enugu. Bandits kidnap another Catholic priest in Kaduna. Security operatives take over legislative complex amid Bauchi assembly crisis. 12 bodies found after South China Sea typhoon shipwreck. Hello, a lovely evening to you, and thank you for joining me on Atlantic's TV Global News today. And now we'll move over to the stories. Before we start, I am Namdi Uzuku. The governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Cross River State, Senator Sandy Ono, has unveiled ex-Channels Ace broadcaster Amana Duke Ambrose Amawen as deputy governorship candidate for the 2023 elections. ATN gathered that there has been internal squabble on the selection of a deputy governorship candidate, but her unveiling has put all that to rest, as the party can now forge ahead in unity with its quest to take over leadership of the state in the 2023 general election. Speaking during the unveiling of the PDP Secretariat, Mary Slaso Road, Calabar, on Monday, Sunday said in the quest for a deputy governorship candidate, they consulted stakeholders widely in a bid to ensure that everyone was carried along and on board with the decision to pick Emana as running mate. He said that there were 100% decision in politics, adding that everyone would sooner or later accept the choice they have made because of the painstaking consultation they embarked on. In her acceptance speech, Amana described her nomination as victory for every hard-working woman, stating that she was ready to go in on the journey with her principle to rescue the state from lack of governance. Moving on, over 50 communities in Edo State on the platform of the concerned Edo youth yesterday barricaded the operational office of the Nigerian Petroleum Development Company, NPDC, along Airport Road, Benin, over alleged marginalization of host communities. The protesting communities who besieged the gate of the office as early as 7 a.m. were clad in red and were armed with placards of various inscriptions that read thus: NPDC, enough is enough. PIB law must be adhered to strictly. NPDC, our protest is our right. The protesters, in demonstration of their seriousness, came with a live cow which they slaughtered at the entrance gate, 2 big pots and 2 bags of rice which they cooked and shared among themselves. Speaking with newsmen at the gate, Ofohan Ogbe Novia, one of the heads of the communities in Oharome, in Oredo local government areas of the state, said they are very happy that the company was cited at the community, but it is quite unfortunate that the various host communities have not felt the impact of the company. He said the communities have written several letters to the company and they have not gotten any response from them. Responding from the oil firm, Mr. Noe Dombra from the Community Relations Department said the management will invite them as soon as possible to address their grievances. Hoodlums have burned down the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC office in Egweze North local government area of Enugu State. Atlantic Television Network gathered that the incident occurred on Sunday night when the arsonists stormed the office situated at the council's headquarters in Ogurute. Efforts to reach the state's public relations officer, which of the police ASP Daniel Ndukwe, proved abortive at press time. However, a correspondent gathered that the state fire service could not put out the inferno until the entire building was razed down. It was also gathered that parts of the local government had been under attacks recently by unknown gunmen wreaking havoc in the southeastern zone. Recall that the state government has recently imposed a 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew and banned commercial motorists or motorcycles in the Igweze North and its neighboring Igweze South local government areas. The People's Democratic Party (PDP) has called on President Muhammadu Buhari to immediately recall the former Chief of Army Staff (COAS) and Ambassador to Benin City, later Lieutenant General Tuko Buratai, retired, to face investigations and clear his name over an alleged connection with the 1.8 billion naira recovered in a property in Abuja by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission (ICPC). According to a communique by its spokesman, Honorable Dapo Olobonagba, the PDP said its demand for the recall and investigation of General Brutai is predicated on the earlier assertion by the National Security Advisor (NSA) General Babagana Mongono after the exit of General Brutai as COAS, and that the 1 billion naira drawn from the National Air Coffers under the APC administration for the purchase of arms to fight terrorism in our country could not be traced. The PDP said in its standing with Nigerians to insist that General Buratai should return to the country and personally face investigations to clear his name. This, according to the opposition party, is because any allegation bordering on the looting of funds meant for the fight against terrorism is of grave national concern and consequence, and as such, it must be thoroughly investigated, and anybody found wanting must be made to face the full weight of the law, no matter how highly placed. The money laundering trial of a former governor of Ekiti State, Ayodele Fayose, was on Monday stalled before a federal high court, Lagos, as the trial court did not sit. The trial, which was fixed for continuation on Monday, could not proceed as the trial judge, Justice Chukwejeku Anekwe, was said to be attending a conference. A new date will be now agreed upon by the parties in due course. Fayose is being prosecuted by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) for 6.9 billion naira fraud and money laundering charges. He was first arraigned on October 2020, 2018 before Justice Moju Shola Olato Jongun, alongside his company Spotless Investment Limited, on 11 counts bordering on fraud and money laundering offenses. He had pleaded not guilty to the charges and was granted bail on October 24, 2018 in the sum of 50 million naira with shorties in like sum. The defendant was, however, subsequently rearraigned before Justice Chukwejeku Aneke on July 2, 2019, after the case was withdrawn from the Justice Olatun Regun following EFCC's petition. He had also pleaded not guilty to the charges and was allowed to continue on the earlier bail granted while the case was adjourned for trial. Strong indication emerged during the weekend that the governors on the platform of the ruling All Progressive Congress (APC) are insisting on seating colleagues to be picked as vice presidential candidates to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu for the 2023 election, following the role they played in his emergence as flag bearer. It was also gathered that the governors are also pushing for Tinubu's running mate to come from the northeast. Speaking in an interview on ATN's Open Conversation in Monday, an analyst, George Azunda Chinda, has said he agrees with the APC governors following the political culture of the zoned system in Nigeria. He also implored the APC flag bearer Bola Ahmed Tinubu to critically make these selections to avoid internal crisis in the APC.
They are not completely out of place to make such demands. You will agree with me that, like they said, the past president of Nigeria, Yar'Adua, is from Katsina. The incumbent president of Nigeria, Buhari, is also from Katsina. This is Northwest. How come opportunity to become the vice president to Tinubu in Southern? You're also going back to that same state, not even the region, but still narrowing it down to that Katsina state. So the governors feel that it is, they played a major role. We all knew what happened before the primaries when the national chairman of APC zeroed in on the incumbent Senate president who is also from Northeast, Yobe State, precisely. These governors played a major role to ensure that, they gave a level playing ground for all the contestants, which also led to Tinubu's emergence. So they are a group. It is normal in political situations like this for everybody to agitate for one or two things. So they believe that it should be one of them, having played major role in bringing up Buhari's candidates. So it is normal. It's normal thing for me. There's no problem with that. It's not left for Tinubu to look at the dynamics in the party to be able to choose someone who balance the equation so that there won't be internal crisis in the party. But for me, Master is being a placeholder is normal. You should go, if you want to go by the Nigerian political culture, we are zoning of political party offices and all of that is accepted as a normal thing for us. Then there's no need having Master Ruiz from Katsina State, like the incumbent president and the former president. So we should be able to look.
Now away from politics, Ondo State Police Command has released the 77 victims rescued from the Whole Bible Believers Church, Ondo, in Ondo West local government area of Ondo State, where they were locked for days. The victims, including children and teenagers, were released to their parents by the police. A total of 77 persons, including 23 children, were rescued from the church after parents of the children petitioned the police. The public relations officer, PPRO for the State Police Command, Fumilayo Odulami, disclosed this while featuring on a television program monitored in Akure on Monday. Olodun Lami, however, said the two pastors in charge of the church are still in police custody. She also disclosed that the church has been sealed by the police to prevent arsons by the aggrieved members of the public. According to her, the pastor and his assistant are still being investigated to get to the root of the matter. She assured that the matter would be well investigated and culprits will be prosecuted by the appropriate authorities. A Port Harcourt-based analyst, Stephen Diegbara, has said the convergence of the Labour Party flag bearer Peter Obi and Rabiu Kwankwaso, flag bearer of New Nigerian People's Party (NNPP), would have given both parties an edge over the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and the All Progressive Congress (APC). Speaking in an interview on ATN, Stephen Diegbara said there is no alliance between Obi and Kwankwaso, and said he is pessimistic about the outcome of the 2023 elections for both parties.
I am a bit worried about the Peter Obi Kwankwaso arrangement, because I don't see that alliance working. And then if it is not going to work, all that they are doing is just a storm in the teacup compared to the strength of the PDP and the APC. Some persons will say structure doesn't matter, but I think differently. Structures do matter in political parties. And because of the selfishness of the actors, Kwankwaso wants to be president, and then Obi also wants to be president. There could be something different that they would have put on the table if there would be a merger between the both. But that is not going to be from the body language of Kwankwaso this morning. We have also heard Obi not likely going to also accept that kind of combinations. Last week we heard Abdulmimi Jubri, one of the strong pillars of Kwankwaso, also told the line of what Kwankwaso had just said this morning. And then you look at Kwankwaso that has some form of history of political strength. You give it to him because he has been on the top for quite some time. He had his members and structures across board. Even the Kwankwasia movement is not being formed today. But the beating is just a child of circumstance that is trying to evolve. And then some of them may be deceived by the wave of the obedient movement. Not actually the reality of the fact that he needs to build a structure over time. So you will see a Kwankwaso that feels that he has the structure, he has the popularity across the north, and now even some ample of followership within the south. And then you see an Obi that sees himself now like the pride of Nigerians, and then you will be priding in that kind of arrangement, forgetting the fact that an alliance between the both would have put some form of difference on the table, or giving the PDP and the APC a good fight in 2023. But I don't see that happening because of the arrogance of their domineering, the attributes towards that kind of union. So what the obedient movement you hear about and the Concorsia thing is just a storm in the teacup. It's not going to work in 2020.
The apex body of farmers in Nigeria, All Farmers Association of Nigeria, AFAN, weekend called on the Federal Ministry of Water Resources to provide more dams along grazing routes to prevent header-farmer conflicts. Speaking with ATN in a telephone chat, the National President, AFAN, Architect Kabil Ibrahim, said dams would be cardinal panacea to the protected head farmer conflicts in the country. Ibrahim said the conflict has taken too many lives following the incessant attacks from both ends. Hence, the Federal Ministry of Water Resources should consider construction of dams to meet the water needs of both headers and farmers. AFAN board, however, called for more effectiveness of the River Basin Development Authorities, RBDAs, in meeting food demands of Nigerians amid high food prices. Ahead of the July 17 deadline given by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) for political parties to submit their list of their candidates for the 2023 general elections, the Tinubu Support Organization has endorsed Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai as the vice presidential candidate. Bola Tinubu, the presidential candidate of the All Progressive Congress (APC), had openly admitted that he is still searching for his running mate. Sources within the APC said the party's candidate is considering Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum or his predecessor Senator Kashim Shettima as preferred options. Speaking during a press conference on Monday in Kaduna, TSO's Director General Aminu Suleiman said the group arrived at the choice of El-Rufai after meeting with critical stakeholders from the Northwest Zone and beyond. The group added that El-Rufai is a very experienced person who has done well in both politics and governance at the federal and state levels and is best candidate that can complement Tinubu as vice president. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project (SERAP) has adjured President Muhammadu Buhari to address the lingering issues of the Academic Staff Union of Universities (ASU). The group submitted that the president should channel some of the president's 3.6 billion naira budget for feeding and travels and the 134 billion naira allocated to the National Assembly for 2022 to ASU. The lecturer of the Department of Administration and Information Management of the Rivers State University, Professor Patrick Unyekbogi, who appeared as a guest on ATN Society Watch on Monday, has said that there is gross contention between the union and the government. Professor Patrick said there should be a relationship between both parties and achieve this, there has to be engagements.
Over time, there's been a disconnect between governments and the union ASU. Now, in the developed climes, the relationship between ASU and the government should be that of partnership. In the current world of labor relations, we are far off from that adversarial position where as soon as you become an ASU chairman, as the case may be, you become anti-government. And in one of the workshops we had in Durban, South Africa, what came to the fore in our discussion was to see where union labor relationship should be that of partnership and not that of fighter, master-servant relationship. And so to achieve that, there should be engagement. Government does not know what is happening in the sector, educational sector. The teachers themselves do not know what government is doing. So there is a gross disconnect between the two parties. Now, just take for instance, if you are a mother and your children know how much you earn and how you spend your resource, your children will begin to understand and know what kind of demands they can make of you. But in this scenario, ASU does not know what government is doing. Government too does not know what ASU is doing. Now, the worst case scenario is where governments will also go as far as appointing an ASU member as the Minister of Education. And as soon as the minister, who is a colleague of teachers, get to the office of governor, he refuses or decides not to know what ASU is doing. So that's the contradictions we have in our kind of society.
Another priest of the Catholic Church has been kidnapped by bandits in Kuro local government area of Kaduna State. The victim, Reverend Father Emmanuel Silas, was kidnapped from the parish rectory of St. Charles Catholic Church, Zambina, in Kuro local government within the early hours of Monday. The incident comes less than 2 weeks after the priest in charge of the Kaduna Polytechnic Catholic community, Reverend Father Vitus Barogo, was kidnapped on his farm at Kujema in Chikum local government area of Kaduna State. The police are yet to comment on the development, but the Chancellor of Kafanchan Catholic Diocese, Reverend Father Emmanuel Okolo, confirmed the incident, saying that they were able to know about the incident when the priest did not show up for the early hours or morning mass on Monday. Barely a week before the incident, Atlantic Television Network reported the abduction and subsequent killing of Reverend Father Christopher Odia of St. Michael's Catholic Church, Ikbogo in Esoko local government area of Edo State. He was abducted from his rectory last Sunday while he was on his way to conduct a mass for worshippers at the parish, but the clergyman was later killed by his abductors out of frustration during a fire exchange with security operatives who were on rescue mission. 4 farmers have been killed in a fresh bandit attack on Raban local government area of Sokoto State. The Sokoto State Police Command confirmed the attack on Atlantic Television Network via a statement issued on Monday. Police Public Relations Officer in the state, Sanisu Abubakar, said the assailants attacked the farmers on their farms with dangerous weapons, and in the process 4 persons were killed. He said the divisional police officer of Rabba also revealed that an 18-old girl was abducted during the attack, adding that the bodies of the victims have been handed over to their respective families. Just a few hours ago, bandits struck in neighboring Kaduna State, kidnapping a priest of Catholic Church in Kuro local government area. The victim, Reverend Father Emmanuel Silas, was kidnapped from the parish rectory of St. Charles Catholic Church, Zabina, in Kuro local government area within the early hours of Monday. The incident comes less than 2 weeks after the priest in charge of the Kaduna Polytechnic Catholic community, Reverend Father Vitus Barugo, was killed on his farm at Kujama in Chikum local government area of the state. Police operatives attached to the Massacre Division have smashed a notorious syndicate of motorcycle thieves that operate between AYA Junction, FCT, Abuja, and Kefi, Nasarawa State. The suspects, Aminu Adamawa Muhammad, Rawanu Bala, Kabiru Usman, and Bashel A. Bashel, were all apprehended on Sunday, the 3rd of July 2022, according to police spokesperson DSP Rahman Nansel. A Peugeot 406 blue in color with registration number APJ 963 NW2, fake police warrant cards, 2 fake police community relations PCRC identification cards were recovered from the suspects. Other exhibits recovered include 1 spray tear gas, 1 pair of handcuffs, 1 walkie-talkie, blank motorcycle receipts, booklets, and criminal charms. Preliminary investigation revealed that the suspects would often pose as police officers, hire commercial motorcycles riders whose motorcycles look new. They would take the unsuspecting victims to locations where one of the syndicate member would pose as an assistant superintendent of police, and with that guise, they would dispose the rider of his motorcycle and zoom off. The suspects confessed to have snatched over 30 motorcycles from commercial riders via the same technique, adding that they also produce fixed receipts and sell the motorcycles off to unsuspecting members of the public. Following the arrest, the Commissioner of Police, CP Adeshina Shoyemi, ordered that a district investigations be carried out, after which the suspects will be charged to a court of competent jurisdictions for prosecution. An analyst, Fine-Face Dumdamene, has commended the General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Enoch Adejare Adeboye, for clarifications on alleged statement of armed ownership. Speaking on ATN's blowout, Fine-Face Dumdamene said the General Overseer has done well for giving clarity, as his words will go further and adhere to the Nigerian citizens and those in diaspora. He also added that the government should provide security for her citizens.
A lot of people were quick to cash in on what he said, because his statement came at a time that the Zamfara state governor have also given the same task to people and citizens of his state to see how they could defend themselves. And you know, when you are in a country where insecurity is a very big issue, a lot of people just want to hear from the next prominent person, and then they take up the direction that he has given for them to go. And that is what I see happening at that point in time. At the time of Christ, there was no guns. There was no gun at that time. But when you talk about gun, you're talking about weapon. So anything that is a weapon can become gun, depending on the society or the climb you find yourself. But if you look at what happened, what Peter did, you know, at a point in time when it was challenging, Peter had to pick up his knife and cut off somebody's ear. And the Bible also talked about the fact that at the time of John the Baptist, that the kingdom of heaven suffered violence, and violence take it by force. At this point in time in Nigeria, communities are suffering violence. Citizens are suffering violence. Almost everybody is not safe. So a lot of people are looking for opportunities for them to be able to defend themselves. But it's good for the cleric to clarify that particular, you know, scripture before people will begin to take up arms, because his own word will go further than what a governor's word could be. Because as a person who is in charge of the Redeemed Christian Church of God in Nigeria and in the diaspora, where you have thousands and millions of worshippers, a word from him can turn the whole game around. And I think it's better he has clarified that. But that doesn't mean that those who know what they are doing will not look forward to opportunities of defending themselves. But I believe the clarification is very, very okay, because in this country we are not in the United States, where if you are 18 years, you can pick up arms. But even with the way that arms are being managed in that society, it's been moved to 21 years now before you can own an arm. So I think what the government needs to do to forget things like this from happening is to provide security for the people, because that's the primary responsibility of government, for government to provide security of lives and properties. The point then remains that we need to provide security in churches. That is why we say security issue is not something that should be centralized. It should be something that should be decentralized. But if you are in a community, a new face walks into the community, you will know this is a new face. This person has never been here before. The same thing should apply to the church. When a new person walks into the church, there should be people that should be able to know, and then put an eye on the people, even when they wait to welcome them as new members to that church. They should be able to look at some of these things and be able to address security issues around the churches.
A former special advisor to the governor of Kaduna State on Islamic matters and Hajj, Sheikh Haliru Abdullahi Maraya, has said that those promoting the idea of Muslim or Christian presidential ticket in today's Nigeria do not wish the country well, especially now that Nigeria appeared divided along religious fault lines. In a statement entitled Islamic View on Same Faith Presidential Ticket in Today's Nigeria, Sheikh Maraya said he doesn't think that there is any Muslim who will support a Christian presidential ticket. Undoubtedly, the Muslim would cry out for the perpetration of injustice against them. According to the renowned Muslim scholar, Nigeria is a multi-religious country of more than 200 million people who are Muslims and non-Muslims. Hence, one can say that the country is owned by more than 200 million citizens who are of diverse religious background. Mariah added that in order to be just in all the citizens of the country and also be balanced to the apparent religious sentiments prevalent in the country, Nigeria's politicians and 8 major political parties have avoided fielding same-faith presidential candidates since the present political dispensation from 1999. The Northern Elements Group, known as Arewa Development Forum, Peace and Justice, has risen from an urgent meeting of general concern in Kaduna with the resolution to support the idea of Zamfara State Governor Bello Mohammed Matawale on giving permission to citizens to acquire and use weapons for protection against invading bandits in their communities. The group pleaded with the state governor in the northwest region to set up machineries and measures for the joint task force of able youth as community-based vigilante volunteers in order to complement the efforts of the security operatives in the fight against criminal activities in the region, like that of Community Protection Guard, CPG, launched in Zamfara on Saturday. The group faulted negative reactions that have trailed the suggestions of the Zamfara state governor and decried the comments of the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabo, and other elites who he accused of being economical with truth concerning the recent kidnapping, killings, and attacks on the communities in Northwest region and environs by suspected bandits. Arawa elders added that a few days ago, terrorists invaded a mining site in Shiroro local government area of Niger State, killing about 17 security agents, including soldiers, police, and local vigilantes, and abducting 4 Chinese expatriates. There was an unusual presence of security operatives on Monday at the Bauchi State House of Assembly complex in the state capital. This comes 3 days after 22 aggrieved members of the Assembly passed a vote of no confidence on the leadership of the House and asked them to resign or be impeached. Governor Bala Mohammed's Special Advisor on State and National Assembly liaison Sani Barrow confirmed the situation at the complex. In a statement on Monday, he explained that the takeover by security operatives became necessary in a bid to prevent a breakdown of law and order after an attempt by hoodlums to set the complex ablaze, while police authorities have yet to explain why their men were stationed at the assembly complex. The governor's aide spoke about the crisis among lawmakers. The aggrieved lawmakers had on Friday last week passed a vote of no confidence on the principal officers of the House, citing inaptitude and dereliction of duties on the reasons for their decision. You are watching the news on Atlantic Television Network. Still ahead, business reports from our Lagos studio. Over to you, Godwin Sunday, for Business Report.
Good evening and welcome to the business desk of Global Business News. I am Godwin Sunday. By the Central Bank of Nigeria has guaranteed 1.332 million loans given to farmers across the country. The monetary value of the loans was estimated at 130.903 billion naira. The Apex Bank also challenged farmers to join hands in revitalizing the country's $430 billion economy by enhancing value addition and diversification. These were the highlight of the National Award ceremony for the 2021 Best Farmer of the Year Award under the aegis of ACGSF held in Abuja. According to the chairman, ACGSF, Mr. Stephen Okon, a total of 1,232,326,000 loans valued at 130.903 billion naira were guaranteed from inception to May 2022, out of which 973,646 beneficiaries had repaid a total of 98.91 billion naira. He noted that the Federal Capital Territory had from January to May 2022 guaranteed a total of 82 loans under the scheme valued at 22.580 million naira. This, according to him, brought the total guaranteed loans in the FCT from inception of the scheme in 1978 to May 2022 to 14,258, valued 1.748 billion naira. In terms of loan recovery, Okon said 11,726 loans valued at 801.058 million naira were repaid under the scheme in the FCT from inception, noting that the record shows a high level of commitment of the officers in the FCT as well as the determination of the farmers to utilize the opportunities offered by the scheme to to empower themselves and improve their loans. More on the news. The National Council on Privatization has appointed Zainab Ahmed, Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, as the chairman of the Nigerian Electricity Liability Management Company, NELCO board. This is just as the council noted that a thorough performance assessment revealed that most of the set performance targets were not met by the 9 electricity distribution companies. Recall that Abubakar Liu, the Minister of Power, had recently admitted the failure of the power sector to provide the much needed energy, blaming the failure on the activities of the terrorists, which made most of the power installations inaccessible nationwide. The NCP, however, approved the proposed governance framework for the sustainable management and payment of post-privatization liabilities of the power sector transferred to the Nigerian Electricity Liability Management Company, NEPCO board. The council, according to a statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Office of the Vice President, Laolu Akande, also approved the fast tracking of the work plan for the concession of Zungeru hydroelectric power plant. The council rising from its third meeting in 2022, which held at the presidential villa, presided by the Vice President Yemi Osibanjo, announced the composition of NEPCO board, which includes the Minister of Finance as chairman. The new board also has the Minister of Power, Director General, Bureau of Public Enterprises, Director General, Debt Management Office, Managing Director, NEPCO, and all of its executive directors as members. It was also resolved that 2 key members from the private sector be included in the board. The meeting had in attendance council members, including federal ministers and representatives of federal ministries such as the Minister of Water Resources, Suleiman Adamu, Director General of the Bureau of Public Enterprises, Alex Oko, Head of MDS, and other senior government officials. It's back to you in the studio. I am Godwin Sunday.
Welcome back to Port Harcourt for the rest of the stories. Now, National Population Commission (NPC) has promised to partner National Council of Women's Societies (NCWS) to increase sensitization of women for a successful 2023 census. Executive Chairman of NPC, Alhaji Nasir Kwara, made this disclosure when the NCWS National President Yahjiya Lami Luo led a delegation on a visit to his office in Abuja. Kwara described women as a very vital component of the society with undisputable influence over their families. He pledged the Commission's collaborations with women society, urging them to ensure that everyone was counted. Kwara said the NPC had demarcated about 772 local government areas, adding that over 45% of women were participating in the census exercise. Earlier, the national president of NCWS expressed the society's willingness to collaborate with the Commission for a successful digital census. Lau affirmed that their visit was in consideration of the Commission's important task of managing the country's population data, especially in the development through the formidable census. She commended the NPC chairman for creating a digital call center, saying that it would make the forthcoming exercise the first ever digital population and housing census in the history of the country. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps Rivers State Command has a new state commandant, while addressing the senior management, staff officers, divisional officers, and all the ranks in his first day in office. Commandant Michael Besong Oga said there is much to do in the fight against illegal oil bunkering and illegal dealings in petroleum products in Rivers State. Commandant Oga further maintained that there is a need for collaborations among security agencies and all stakeholders in order to combat the menace of insecurity in the nation, noting that intelligence is the bedrock of security. Hence, the public must partner with the corps by providing credible intelligence and information that will assist the command to tip in the board of all activities leading to environmental degradation and economic sabotage across the region. The command helmsman, however, gave a stern warning against violation of fundamental human rights of the citizens he said as security agency with statutory mandate. The officers and men of the command must exhibit high level of professionalism and respect for digital or dignity of persons, as his administration will not entertain any iota of brutality against civilians and accidental discharge. The National Examination Council, NECO, has stated that it has not scheduled any examination for Saturday, July 9th, 2022 in the ongoing Senior School Certificate Examination, SSCE. For school-based candidates, the examination body said its position was contrary to insinuations in some quarters that Council has scheduled examination for July 9, 2022, which is Salah Day, Eid al-Adha. In a press statement on Monday, NECO's head of Information and Public Relations Divisions, Azaz Sani, said the council was conscious of the importance of religious festivals and has always made adequate provisions for such in fixing examination dates. Atlantic Television Network recalls that the 2022 Senior School Certificate Examination, SSCE, for school-based candidates began on June 27th and will end on August 12th. The Federal Ministry of Women Affairs has reiterated its commitment towards ending gender-based violence, GBV, advocating for a peaceful and gender-sensitive Nigeria where women can excel in all endeavors. The minister made this statement on Monday at the Women Campaign Against Domestic and Gender-Based Violence held at the ministry's headquarters in Abuja. Our correspondent in Abuja, Nelma Omeje, has details on this story.
The Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, Her Excellency Dame Pauline Tallen, who was represented by the Acting Permanent Secretary, Mr. Mohammed Idris, has again reiterated the ministry's commitment to ending crises related to gender-based violence, advocating for a peaceful and gender-sensitive Nigeria for all, where women are given a voice and space to excel in all endeavors.
The Federal Ministry of Women Affairs as National Gender Mercenary for Women's Well-being and Development is leaving no stone unturned, as she continues to advocate for peaceful and gender-sensitive Nigeria for all, where women are given a voice and space to excel. With the support of all relevant stakeholders and with everyone playing their part, we will bring gender-based violence and other gender-based related cases to the barest minimum in Nigeria.
The Deputy President, Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pengasan, Comrade Owan Abwa, expressed her solidarity in standing with women in the call against domestic and gender-based violence, which have been on the increase recently in our country.
Today, we stand in solidarity with our women. As an association, we stand fully behind the call for the call against domestic and gender-based violence. We know, as you have rolled out some of the statistics, that it appears that there is an increase in the cases of domestic and gender-based violence in the country. We want to say that as an association, we abhor any act of domestic violence, be there violence against women by men, be there violence against children by men and women, be there violence against any group of vulnerable Nigerians. We stand against it in every form.
The National Whip, Women in Pegasen, Comrade Dr. Faith Usero, mentioned that the fight against gender-based violence will continue in various parts of the country and all offenders dealt with drastically.
Today we are here, we have gone through other zones, we have been in Port Harcourt, we have been in Lagos, and here we are in Abuja to continue our project that says no to domestic violence. We are here to say no to domestic violence, all-round dignification of domestic violence. We say no. We say no to child abuse. We say no to all manner of domestic violence. We say no to violence in the workspace. We say no to violence in our marketplaces. We say no to violence in the church. Wherever we find ourselves, we say no to domestic violence. Today we are here to say that all offenders of domestic violence should be dealt with drastically. We are here to say that we want a real drastic action to be taken. The kind of action that will make, when you hear of it, the next person that wants to try such a thing, when he thinks of it, it will run away from such action.
Speaking in an interview with the chairperson, Women in Pegasin, Kaduna Zone, Comrade Hazia Audu, she made a call to all Nigerians to lend her voices to say no to domestic and gender-based violence nationwide.
The essence of this work is for Pegasin women to lend our voices and say no to domestic and gender-based violence, because there is an increasing rate of domestic violence recorded nationwide and worldwide. So we want to join our voices, lend our voices, make our voices heard, because silence engenders domestic violence. So we want to break that silence and say no to domestic violence. We want all the law enforcement agencies to hear it. We want the Ministry of Women Affairs to hear it. We want the commissions to hear it. And we want even the violators to hear it, so that they know that we are watching. Women are tired of being abused. You know, we're, the less privileged, the underprivileged are tired of being abused. So we're here to raise our voices to say no, this should come to an end.
Speaking also with the pressmen, the chairperson, Women in Pegasin, Lagos Zone, Comrade Nikki Duru, added that the gender-based movement is pertinent as it involves lives and affects the economy, society, and most importantly, our children.
Oh, so important. It involves lives, loss of lives, because domestic violence kills. It affects the economy, it affects the society, it affects the next generation, because the children in the house, they watch what their parents are doing and they continue it. So that's why for Women in Pegasin, it is a very important project.
This is a call for Nigerians, stakeholders, and possibly NGOs to join hands in the fight for gender-based violence in our country. Reporting for Atlantic Television Network, I am Norma Omeje.
Moving on now, Center for Fiscal Transparency and Integrity Watch has called for the measures to improve access to public information to promote good governance through transparency, integrity, and accountability in the public sector. The center believed that such measures were necessary to strengthen existing initiatives on transparency and integrity, which are the pillars that minimize acts of corruption. The chairman of the board of CTWET, Angela Wogu, stated this during capacity training for journalists in Abuja, organized in collaboration with the Bureau of Public Service Reforms, BPSR, and Center for Journalism, Innovation and Development on critical themes that are essential in advancing transparency, integrity, and accountability in the public sector. The capacity building workshop seeks ways to deepening the conversation on improving open governance and strengthening integrity mechanisms to stimulate good governance in Nigeria. The Director General BPSR, Ibrahim Dansoki, said relevant stakeholders need to support government initiatives around public service reforms and innovations that are designed to promote open government. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, in Kogi has charged the 300 recruits to show courage and commitment in the discharge of their duties. The state commandant of the Corps, Suleiman Mafara, gave the charge at the passing out ceremony, which took place at the command's headquarters in Lokoja. Mafara congratulated them on their success in the 2019 recruitment. He lauded the Corps Commandant General Abubakar Audi for ensuring the recruitment, selection, and training and passing out parade were successful. He further commended the course training department and instructors for their handwork and dedication during the training of the recruits. He said the reports at his disposal show that the recruits went through the mile and had come out refined and disciplined. The state NSCDC chief said he was convinced that the recruits were ready to contribute their quota towards the protection of critical national infrastructure and the nation's security. Atlantic Television Network reports that goodwill messages were delivered by heads of all the sister security agencies at the brief ceremony. You're watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. Up next is International Tidbits. Moving over to foreign stories now on the international tidbits, 12 bodies have been found following a shipwreck in the South China Sea over the weekend that left more than 2,000 crew members missing, Chinese authorities said on Monday. The announcement came days after an engineering vessel 160 nautical miles, 296 kilometers southwest of Hong Kong, suffered substantial damage and broke into two pieces during a typhoon. A total of 30 crew members abandoned the vessel. Fujing 001 used for offshore wind power construction after its anchor chain broke in the typhoon, according to China's state media outlets CGTN. The floating crane of the offshore wind farm project was found to be in danger by a monitoring system on Saturday, and it later sank. State broadcaster CCTV said 3 people were rescued on Saturday and 1 more in the early hours of Monday, according to China's state media, leaving 26 still unaccounted for. Rescuers have expanded the scope of their search around the points of wreckage, with medical workers dispatched on each rescue ship to provide assistance to any crew member found as soon as possible, CCTV said. Libyans angered by rising prices, chronic power cuts, and political deadlock have planned further demonstrations after a night of angry protests across the capital. Max youths set aside light cars, tires, and blocked roads, including the major coastal highways between central Tripoli and its western suburb, but security forces did not intervene. Videos carried by local media also show demonstrations in Beni Walid and the part of the port city of Misrata. The movement demands elections and the dissolutions of both the country's revival government and the 2 houses of parliament. Public anger has been fueled by power cuts that often last 18 hours amid soaring summer temperatures, despite Libya sitting on Africa's largest oil reserves. In the northwest of Burkina Faso, about 20 people, some of them children, have been killed at Bonraso in Kosi province, a security officer said, giving a provincial toll. A local inhabitant put numbers of fatalities at around 20. In the northern Burkina Faso, 12 people died on Saturday in an attack at Namsiguniama in Yatanga province, among security sources said. Also speaking on condition of anonymity, 3 of the dead were members of a civilian militia, the Volunteers for the Defense of the Fatherland, VDP, an auxiliary force set up in December 2019 to support the army. Uzbekistan's state prosecutors says that 18 people died during unrest in the autonomous Kapanstan region after protests erupted over planned constitutional changes affecting the territory's status last week. Mamotov said this in a briefing where a representative of the National Guard said the 243 people were injured during the unrest, 94 of whom were hospitalized. Uzbek President Shafkat Maksyogovev have since worked back draft constitutional amendments that would have removed the republic's constitutionally ingrained right to self-determination. The clash posed the most significant challenge yet to the 64-year-old rule since he rose to power from the post of Prime Minister in 2016 when his long-serving mentor, Islam Kavrov, died. Japan has lodged a protest with China over a Chinese naval vessel sailing near disputed islands, a Japanese officer said, as reports emerged of Russia also sending its own Navy ship to the area. The islets in the East China Sea, known as the Senkaku by Tokyo and the Diaoyu by Beijing, are at the center of the long-running dispute between Japan and China. Japanese officials regularly protest the presence of Chinese Coast Guard vessels in waters near the islands, but it is the first time since 2018 that a Navy ship has been spotted there, according to a public broadcaster NHK. Japanese Defense Ministry said that the Chinese Navy frigate was spotted around 7:44 a.m. on Monday as it was entering Japanese contiguous waters southwest of one of the Tokyo's controlled islands. The contiguous waters are at a 12 nautical mile band that extends beyond territorial waters. And now let's join Ada Obi for entertainment stories. Over to you now, Ada Obi.
Hello and good evening. My name is Adobe. Welcome to the entertainment segment of the Global News. And today on the news, we're starting off with Kannywood superstar Ali Nuhu and other actors have mourned the demise of a director in the industry, Nura Mustafa. The death of the Kannywood director, famous for the popular Hausa YouTube series Isaso, was announced on Sunday by his colleagues. The news of his death took many by surprise as several reports noted that the deceased had gone to bed hale and hearty on Saturday night. On his verified Facebook page, popular actor Ali Nuhu said, "May Allah have mercy on Nura Mustafa." Other actors also expressed their sadness on their different pages over the death of the director. Nura, who is survived by a wife and children, has since been buried in accordance with Islamic rites, according to reports. Superstar musician David Adeleke, popularly known as Davido, has shown love to a female fan at a Lagos event as he gifted her his shoes and 2 million naira. During his performance at the Infinix VIP event on Sunday night, the singer invited the ecstatic fan to the stage, and gifted her his shoes. Upon receiving the shoes, the fan went wild with excitement as she jumped around the stage, laid on the floor, and hugged the singer, who later ordered one of his aides to give her 2 million naira. A video that captured the moment has gone viral on the internet, causing many Davido fans to celebrate the singer for his philanthropic activities. Grammy-winning Afrobeat megastar Burna Boy has released the track list for his next album, Love Damini. The track list was released on social media on Sunday, 3rd July. The 19-track album is set for worldwide pre-release on 8th July 2022. The album features guest appearance from Ed Sheeran, Popcan, Victoni, J Balvin, Blast, J-Hus, Kelani, Lady Smith, and Black Mambazo. Burna Boy has already released 2 songs from the album, Kilometer and Last Last, with the latter enjoying impressive level of success. BB Niger star Maria Chike has denied reports claiming she snatched another woman's husband. Recall that in October 2019, socialite Cubana chief priest accused Maria of snatching his sister's husband, Kevin. He made the allegation on Instagram after Maria left the house and was in Dubai with Kevin, where they are based. Up until this evening, Maria, who is currently on holiday in Greece, never denied nor confirmed the allegation. In a tweet thread this evening, Maria pointed out that she never snatched anyone's husband, nor did she break any home. Maria also mentioned that she isn't interested in marriage. We move to the foreign scene now. On the foreign scene, Bruno Pop and Taco Falcon, the street dancing pioneer and late king of pop Michael Jackson's longtime breakdancing teacher, has died at the age of 58. His official Facebook account announced that the dancers passed away yesterday. His sister Diana Walgamot told TMZ on Sunday that she believes he may have died from a possible heart attack and no autopsy will be conducted. Falcon's other-breaking co-star Timothy Poppin Pete Solomon took to his Instagram where he expressed sadness over the dancer's demise. We pray that his soul rests in perfect peace. That's all on the news today. I am Adobe. Thanks for watching. Back to the news desk.
Some entertaining stories there by Adobe, quite interesting. And now we'll move over to Tikli Empress, where she's standing by to take some sports news.
Good evening and welcome to the Sports Desk in ATN Global News. I am Empress Tikili. Salisu Habibu is Nigeria's emerging talent in the middle distance event. The young lad shows great potential and could reach the very top in the 800 meter and 1,500 meters. Habibu claimed 2 national titles in this event in Benin and went under 4 minutes in the 1,500 meter for the first time this season, clocking 1 minute 52.77 in the 800 meters. La Liga giants Barcelona have confirmed the signing of Ivory Coast midfielder Frank Kessie from AC Milan on a free transfer. The 25-year-old, who scored 37 goals in 223 appearances during a 5-year spell with AC Milan, has signed a 4-year deal at the Nou Camp. His contract at the Catalan club will include a €500 million buyout clause. Kessie made his debut for Ivory Coast in 2014 and has won a total of 58 international caps. He started all 4 matches at the African Cup of Nations in Cameroon earlier this year as the Elephants were knocked out in the last 16 by Egypt on penalties. English team Arsenal has signed Brazil forward Gabriel Jesus from Manchester City for £45 million in the long-term deal. The 25-year-old is Mikel Arteta's 4th signing of the summer, following the arrivals of midfielder Fabio Vieira, goalkeeper Matt Turner, and Brazilian forward Marquinhos. Jesus, who will wear the number 9 shirt for the Gunners, leaves Manchester City after 5.5 years. He made 236 appearances and scored 95 goals for them, winning 4 Premier League titles, 3 League Cups and the FA Cup. Manchester City's owners have obtained a majority stake in Italian Serie B side Palermo. This makes them the 10th club linked to the Premier League champions. The City Football Group now owns 11 clubs. Meanwhile, Manchester City have signed Leeds United midfielder Calvin Phillips for £45 million. The 26-year-old England international, who still had 2 years left on his Leeds deal, signed a 6-year deal with the Premier League champions. He becomes Pep Guardiola's 3rd summer signing after the arrivals of Erling Haaland and Stefan Ortega Moreno. Wimbledon administrators have been fined by the Women's Tennis Association for banning Russian and Belarusian players from Wimbledon grass court events this summer. The All England Lawn Tennis Club received a fine of £207,000 and the Lawn Tennis Association got a fine of £620,000. Both the All England Club and LTA have appealed against the fines. It has been declared, though, that the fines will have to be paid in full before any hearings can take place. And that wraps up the sports news. I am Empress Tikili, taking you to the news desk.
With that sports story, we'll call it a wrap on the global news for tonight. But before we go, another look at the major stories. Rivers NSCDC gets new state commandant says no room for illegal oil dealings. 52 Edo communities shut down NPDC office with coffin. Hoodlums burned down INEC office in Enugu. Bandits kidnap another Catholic priest in Kaduna. Security operatives take over legislative complex amid Bauchi Assembly crisis. Now the foreign saying 12 bodies found after South China Sea typhoon shipwreck. That's a wrap, as I earlier told you on. To follow us on all our social media, you could join us on all. Twitter is at Atlantic TV Net. Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network. Instagram is Atlantic TV Network. Remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. I remain Nnamdi Uzuku. Enjoy your evening.
It's the people making the difference in our time on ATN Icons. Here, we present you legends celebrated for their heroism in different fields and serve as role models today. ATN Icons, showing every Sunday 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Atlantic Television Network. StarTimes ATH channel 194. ATN Live on Google App Store. Facebook Atlantic Television Network. YouTube Atlantic Television Network. Instagram Atlantic TV Network. Twitter Atlantic TV Net. For sponsorship 0810-634-1777. ATN Icons, celebrating the giants of our time.